Hello there, Herr Goodwill. I am Chantel of Wallsend. Resistance is like totally not on. We will add your biological and like technological distinctiveness to our own by like necking on with you and like stealing your iPhone. Uh, do you know who my dad is? Because I am unfamiliar.
Also, this is the episode, Goodwill, after we've talked about it for so long. And obviously, we were talking about the conspiracies before, but obviously we've got. So that's my take, my hot take for this episode. Okay, is. Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse, Goodwill. It gets worse. There we go.
Space. My headphones just decided to die.
I'll do it, it said.
Space, the final frontier, like.
Shut
because
up!
we're worth it, girls.
Shut up! Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Adequate. Our ongoing mission until we are not cancelled and replaced by something far superior, because it is our channel and we can do whatever the hell we want. To review every episode and movie of Star Trek in existence. To seek out new guests and make them very uncomfortable. To boldly go, especially for this episode, where many other YouTube channels have gone before. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers, and welcome to yet another live episode of Trekking Up North. And let me tell you, it has been a clenching 20 minutes for Captain Goodwill, because I got everything done and sorted this morning and the software decided to die now. So I have had 3 heart attacks, 2 prolapses, and I've got a can of Coca-Cola next to me just in case. So if this all dies, I am not held responsible and I will just retire into the sea. But joining me, as ever, on Trekking Up North is that... Wait a minute, no. No! It is not Science Officer Synoiz from the planet Honk. It is Mirror Universe Synoiz from the planet Bonk. Yes, we get it. We get it. It's an inside job.
Well, all I'm going to say, Goodwill, all I'm going to say during this whole thing, where was Keiko O'Brien? Where was Keiko O'Brien during Wolf 359?
Where was she? Where was she? We saw Miles. Miles was there.
Yeah.
Where was Keiko? Where was
So
Keiko?
obviously, you know, who told the Borg? Like, you know, where this whole thing, Locutus giving military secrets away. What if it was not? What if it was an evil Par Wraith botanist, eh?
There was a second cube. Hello, another space note. OBS likes
the grassy knoll of space.
OBS likes
the
to be
cube
tricky.
on the grassy knoll of space.
The cube on the grassy knoll. I'm telling you.
That's my new novel. That's a chapter in our novel, I think.
Where was Section 31 during all this? Welcome in, everybody. My OBS is making me mad this morning. See, we're all having the issues. They detected the conspiracy within, and they were like, we must silence him. We have revoked his American.
Silence me.
We have revoked his American visa, and now we will revoke his OBS. Welcome in, everybody. This is an episode long time coming. The Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and 2. Every other Star Trek YouTube channel has covered this. There has been the Wolf 359 Project. There has been the Prelude to Wolf 359, which is absolutely fantastic. There has been the Search for Treks, Wolf 359, Wolf 359. Best of Both Worlds. 1 minute at a time.
Is that actually what you're doing?
Yes. I wish to be
I love
free.
it though, how we had this discussion of me being like, I'm not entirely convinced by this format, and you're like, guess what? We're doing more, and I'm like, there's nothing better than doubling down on insanity, I think.
That's what she said. But yes,
I do love though that Damon's basically said to boldly go where no one has gone before, and I'm like, well, actually, everyone has gone here. This is one of the most famous and most reviewed episodes of Trek ever, and
But
I
have
think
they
there's
done
something
it?
quite exciting that we're getting to ruin it, I guess. But I want to see if our takes are different to everyone else's.
But have they done it boldly? And have they done it baldly? Oh! Hang on. Oh,
I'm
where's my
wipe
book?
clean, Mr. Goodwill.
Hang on. Oh!
Oh, I've lost mine. Where's mine?
You've lost your mug.
Oh!
Oh! Welcome in,
Would
everybody.
you believe?
It is great to see you all here. Hello, Chris. Hello, another Space Knot. Hello, David. Hello, Peaches. Hello, Snatch, which is Velvet. Before we get into the best of both worlds, we do have some, well, not breaking news now, but maybe some breaking news for people. Star Trek Strange New Worlds will end, like everything else, with Season 5 in 2027. And this comes as no surprise to anyone who knows Paramount and knows the industry. However, it does not stop me being unbelievably angry and having a tantrum in the car when I heard the news. The reason why they are doing 5 seasons of all the Star Trek shows at the moment is once a show goes past 5 seasons, the studio has to pay royalty to the actors of that show. And Paramount being Paramount, they were, you're not getting any money from us. So they've decided that Strange New Worlds will end in 2027 with just 6 episodes. I really hope these are feature-length episodes and not just 45 minutes, not just 50 minutes, not just an hour. They need to
shocking.
cram.
Like,
yeah.
Why not a full season? Why just 6 episodes? Like, you would like to think that it's because they've carefully thought out the plot and they've gone, hey, what we've got is we've got such a refined series of episodes that we have no, like, you know, fat to kind of cut or whatever, and the final season just needs these 6 blockbuster episodes.
Yeah.
But you kind of just go that they're like, you've got 20 quid. You know, there we go. What can you do with 20 quid? 6 episodes?
2027 will be a watershed year for Star Trek because 2027 is when Alex Kurtzman's contract runs out. So this could go one of 2 ways when it comes to Paramount, well, one of 3 ways, I would say. One, Paramount mothballs Star Trek for the 3rd time in its history. They mothball it, they'll go, you know what, it's run its course, we're going to put it back on the shelf for a while. 2, they sell the license to Star Trek to another studio, to another network, to whoever, because a lot of the criticism that is levied towards Paramount is their handling of Star Trek. And Paramount famously, through all the history of Star Trek, Paramount has never known how to properly handle Star Trek as a franchise. When it comes to merchandise, when it comes to distribution, look at the Netflix debacle for Star Trek Discovery Season 4. When that was going to be aired, literally 2 days before it was going to be aired worldwide on Netflix, they pulled the plug. And then the merchandising, I mean, come on, the merchandising is just a train wreck in itself.
When did Paramount happen? When did Paramount get the license originally? Have they always
They've
had
always
it,
had
or
it.
has it been?
They have.
Yeah, it just because they used to be good with it, and you're like, what happened? Like what, you know, with TNG, with Voyager, and stuff like that. They were like the glory days, as we refer to them, and then obviously.
But at the time,
what went on?
But at the time, they still weren't very good with it because Voyager launched on the UPN network, which was just famously bad to receive, to watch in America. People would, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen Married with Children where they go enter the Fox News position and they have to navigate aerials like this in various different positions. Like, I give you a comparison for UK. Channel 5 when it was launched. The difficulty people had receiving Channel 5 was the same difficulty people in America had in receiving UPN. So that was what options have I covered? Shelving, selling it. The third option is that they double down on Star Trek. They either renew Kurtzman as the helm of Star Trek, or they bring in someone new. They double down and they continue making Star Trek. Highly doubtful. And I say this begrudgingly because the way that everything's going with Paramount at the moment and the whole Skydance merger, Paramount are sort of bending over to a certain orange Cheeto. I just don't think that will be happening. And then the fourth option, was there 4 options? No, 3 options. Yeah, there's only 3.
No, there we go.
Yeah, there's only 3 options.
That's the 3 options.
It's been a day. Look, I had an interview with a cult. More on that later.
Tell us about this, actually. No, guys in the chat, you are going to enjoy this story.
Okay,
this
so my little rant on Strange New Worlds, it sucks. It really sucks. We wanted more seasons. Simple as that. The only logical progression now would be they move into Kirk or they do something else. I don't know. I want the last episode of Strange New Worlds to be the handover of Pike to Kirk. If they just end it like that, I'll be unhappy that it's ending, but I'll be happy with the ending.
I'd probably be happier if they just left it open-ended, so that another studio can take over and be like, okay, we'll pick up the show, and then we'll actually do justice for it and give it another couple of seasons. You know,
Was
like
my
rather
volume
than them
low?
going.
Sorry,
Pardon?
Chris. My
They're
volume
saying
was a
it
bit
like-
low. Can
They
you
sound
hear me
fine to
now?
me, but,
how's that? Delicious. Sorry, technical issues with OBS. I deeply apologise. As you were saying, Synoiz.
Yeah, no, I kind of think that I preferred if they left it on a cliffhanger. No, they kind of just left it open-ended so that another studio can take it on board and go, cool, we'll give it the additional seasons it requires.
Yeah.
But
they need to do.
It's doubtful. Like, they don't want to sort of burn the, what's it called, like, you know, burn the forest after they're done kind of thing or whatever.
Yeah, do I sound a lot
Scorched
better
earth.
now, Chris? My levels are equal to Synoiz, so I do apologise. But I would look. I would love them to pick up one of the Star Trek series and continue it, and I would love, say, Amazon to do it, or Netflix to do it. Now, the reason why I say that was The Expanse. Now, the first 3 series, 3 series of The Expanse was on the Sci-Fi Channel, and the Sci-Fi Channel does good sci-fi sometimes. So good they go, well, we don't like this, we're cancelling it. So what happened with The Expanse? It was cancelled by Sci-Fi, and then Amazon picked it up, and the Mr. Bezos was quite a fan of The Expanse, but Amazon picked it up, and they continued it for a few more seasons. Nothing had changed. It was just literally right where they left off, and they continued. I would love for another studio to do that. I would love for Netflix, Amazon, anyone except Disney. I would love for them to just pick it up and then just continue and just use, like, any studio. If Paramount considers selling the Star Trek license, any studio could look at that and go, this will print us money.
I think the key thing is it shouldn't matter who picks it up, because what we want is them just to continue it as it is. Like, we love it. Well, all we need is like people to be like, hey, we've got money and we could put it onto a streaming platform. There you go. I mean, I'd be annoyed if it went to Amazon and Amazon got involved and decided to, because Amazon don't have a great track record with
Track
stuff.
record.
Some of the, track record. Some of their stuff is good. However, other stuff is just like look at Rings of Power, that is, and Wheel of Time, which is cancelled now, but it's going to be very difficult for someone to do it properly. You know, like, it's one of those weird shows where you just kind of go like, okay, like, that was an interesting. Why did you adapt something if you wanted to change everything about it? Cough, The Witcher. Cough.
That's what I thought of The Witcher. So, my day. Before we get into best of both, this is a long ass tangent, but I don't care.
We will get to the episode.
Where do I begin? Where do I begin with this? So, I think today I had a job interview with a cult. I genuinely believe I have had a job interview with a cult, and I'll tell you for why. So, for those that don't know, I have recently become unemployed, or jobbant, as I'm calling it. So it's been a struggle, and I've applied for 45 positions in companies, and I applied for this one in a town called Hartlepool, which is about 45 minutes away from where I live. And I just applied. It was something to do in media. I was qualified to do it, and I was like, bang, there's a CV. Here's YouTube, here's Twitch, off you go. So I get a phone call last week. They wanted to do a telephone interview, did a telephone interview, and they were like, great, we'll be in touch with you. It's a 4-stage interview process for an entry-level job. 4 stages. That involves 2 telephone interviews, a team-based in-person task, and then a face-to-face interview at the office, right? And I'm like, okay. So I did the first thing, and then I get a telephone call this morning. I sit down this morning. I am full of energy. I thought, I am going to do my job applications. I'm going to do a nice YouTube short. I'm going to look at doing some editing because my good friend Chris is, offered me editing work and everything like that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make my day productive. And then the phone rings. Hello, Mr. Goodwill. It is blah, 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 blah from blah, 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 blah. You applied for this job. I was like, yes, I did. They were like, we would love for you to come in and have an interview. No, he said, we would love to have another interview with you. And I thought, great, that's fantastic. Would it be over the telephone, and when is it going to be? Can you come in just under 2 hours' time for a face-to-face interview? What?
See, any other context where it's like, I already have a job, so that's a very weird ask for me.
Within 2 hours they wanted an interview.
You could never do that.
So I was a little taken aback, but I was like, okay. So I dropped everything, fished out any clean shirt, ironed it to within an inch of its life, so it looked, it was pristine, made myself look human, shaved, actually washed my face. Very little time to do prep work for this job, but what I did, I sat down, I went through the YouTube channel and did a little bit of Googling and everything like that, and I'm starting to get a bit of a vibe from this job, and I'm like, okay, it may just be my perception. I will go in with it, open-minded. An interview is a great learning experience. Got in the car, did the 45-minute drive, parked up, walked to the location, and there are 3 buildings with the same name. 3. The same company name, 3 buildings. Where do I go? Which building do I enter into? Is this part of the interview? Is this a test? Is there a lion behind one of the doors?
Is this literally around the marina?
It's behind Morrison's.
Okay.
It's not. It's near the marina, but it's behind Morrison's.
Okay, good. Because I was like, I think I know who this company is.
Okay, I will tell you off screen because litigation.
Yeah, we're not gonna...
There may be a black car outside, but so I get there and I'm like, I don't know which building I'm going to enter in. So I go into the first building and I'm like, hello, I'm here for a job interview. My name is. She was like, you need to go to the building across the road. Now, across the road, there were 2 other buildings. So I said, which one do I go in? She went, oh, any are fine. I was like, okay.
Any.
Left building number 1, walked across the road, and went to go to building number 2. Building number 2 has 2 doors. These 2 doors did not have either a doorbell or a door handle.
Right.
Okay. There was a CCTV camera looking at me, but there was no one in this building. So I was like, this is my spidey sense was off the charts already. So I venture to building number 3, and I knock on the door, and I get greeted. And they're like, I was like, oh, I'm here for an interview. They're like, yes, come in, plop yourself on this singular chair in the IT department. Now, I love the
Put
fact
on these Reebok trainers.
I love the fact they call it an IT department when this office, every single one of these buildings is a street house, okay, converted into a workspace. So the IT department / living room. So I walk in and they go, place yourself on that chair in the corner. What could only be described as a cook chair was in the corner, facing at a 45-degree angle the rest of the room. When I mean the rest of the room, every single person in that room then did this. And they all started looking at me. Now, in this room, in this IT department, there are 4 gentlemen, okay? 4 gentlemen on 4 tables arranged in a massive rectangle in the centre of the living room. I mean office, okay? Fireplace still there. Adorning every wall in this one room are quotes written on the wall, okay? Now, I'm not going to go into all the quotes, but one of the quotes said, everyone is a leader of one. The founder. Okay? The founder. And I'm going, who's the founder? Right? Is it some sort of like poet? Is it a philosopher? What is this? Right? So these people start talking to me and they start going on about, oh, where are you from? What do you do? And they go, oh, so what are your hobbies? These people have never met me. We are having no planned interaction, but they come out with, what are your hobbies? I'm taken aback. I'm full on factory resetting at this point. And I went, I like video games, right?
Yeah.
So they go, oh, so you like FIFA? No.
It's like that's not the first thing that comes to mind when I think of video games.
So they said, so what are your favourite games, right? So I said, well, I'm currently playing Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. I absolutely love them. I'm a huge fan of Far Cry 5. We'll get back to that in a minute. Huge fan of Far Cry 5. I said, but my favourite is Metal Gear Solid 1. To which this gentleman went, oh, so you're old.
You're like, that is on my CV. I'm glad that you have seemingly not read it.
So he said, so you don't play any sports games? I went, I don't really like, I don't really like football. They went, and this was one of the many warning signs. He was like this, talking to me, and when I said I didn't like football, he went, you don't like football? How can you not like football? We all like football in this office. How can you not like football? He likes football. He likes football. I like football. Every Friday we have a football shirt Friday where everyone has to come in wearing a football shirt adorning their favourite team. The founder is a Liverpool supporter. And I went, the founder?
The founder?
Yes, the owner of the company, the founder. You call him the founder? Yes, we call him the founder.
Is Jeff not long enough? Is that? It's like...
So I said, well, I've never really been into football. And they were like, well, you're going to have to pick a team if you want to work here, and you're going to have to get a football shirt to wear a football shirt and football shirt Friday.
Palestine.
And I'm like, Green Bay Packers? So at this point, right, I'm in the cook chair in the corner of the living room. These men are looking at me like I am some sort of like tribal sacrifice. A gentleman enters the living room and goes, oh, Mr. Goodwill, you're here for the interview. And I was like, yes, get me the fuck out of here right now.
Get me out of the cook chair.
Takes me out of the office. We go up the stairs. of this house.
Is it literally just a house?
Of this house. Like, do you know a street house where they've got really narrow staircases?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we go up the first set of stairs, and then they're like, "Oh, welcome to our office. This is our head office for our international business, and we do this." Blah 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 blah. Get to the landing in the middle. There is the singular toilet for the head office. Bedroom number 1 is the contact centre, and we enter bedroom number 2, which is the boardroom.
Please tell me the chairs are around a bed. It's like a double bed with wheelie chairs next to it.
I enter bedroom number 2. Okay, which I mean, they're 2 double bedrooms.
Famous last words.
It's a very nice house. It's a 2 double bedroom property. So I enter bedroom number 2. There is a huge, laughably big boardroom table assembled from many rectangles to look like a boardroom table. And I am greeted by the quintessential loyalist of a cult that blinks once every 7 months. Okay? She goes to me, she goes, "Hi, it's wonderful to meet you. Hi, take a seat, won't you? Take a seat. Would you like a drink? Would you like a drink?" And I'm like, I am not going to drink anything in this establishment at all. I am going to drink nothing. My phone is firmly in my hand, and I've got the emergency button there, right? So the interview begins with this loyalist, interviewer, right? And they're asking all, the standard boilerplate questions. Tell me about yourself. What have you done for, in your career? What do you do outside of work? And I'm giving all the usual spiel. Then she starts talking about the founder. She starts talking about the founder. She goes, "So, what prep work have you done for this interview then?" And I went, "Well, to be honest with you, I've been given less than 2 hours from the phone call to get dressed, drive over here, and get ready for the interview. So my prep work consists of reviewing your YouTube channel, your website, yada, yada, yada." "Oh, isn't our YouTube channel the best? It's so fantastic. The founder works so hard on the YouTube channel. Have you seen his videos? His videos are amazing. They're very insightful. Have you heard his podcast?" Right? And I'm like, I've seen a few YouTube shorts, but obviously I did not have time to go through each video, which is the length of a Trekking Up North review.
Wow, that's far too long, if I'm perfectly honest.
So she's going through, and she goes, "So, have you bought any of his books?" And I went,
Did you have to be like, "I've never heard of this guy"?
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing. I said, "Well, I haven't, because the industry that he's writing about is not an industry I've ever been in, so I've never read his." "You've never read his books? You should read his books. His books are brilliant. They're transferable. They could help you elevate your income to a new level. You could change your mindset by listening to these books. He's a best-selling author, don't you know? He's written many books that could elevate a lot of people. He's enriched people around the world."
And that's why he can't afford a proper office space.
And I'm like,
seemingly.
I'm like, do you ever fucking blink? Right? So I say, I'm honest, and I'm like, no, I've never seen it. I've never seen any of his things. He's got a podcast, right? An inspirational podcast named after himself.
Okay. So I won't have ever heard of that.
Yeah. So she's like, "Oh, I highly recommend you check out the founder's work. The founder does some wonderful things with the podcast, and the founder does this." Bearing in mind, these videos have 6 views.
Yeah. That's quite a lot, though, because she's only one person. Does she have 5 other accounts? Is that what we're saying?
So then, right, at this point, I am like, right, bear in mind, every single wall in this head office has a quote from the founder, right? And I attest them to the Rainier Wolfcastle quotes from The Simpsons when he's trying to motivate Homer, like push the envelope, max through the wrapper, and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Like. So I'm like, okay, but every single one is signed off. The founder, okay, the founder. So
I've given up on wanting to talk about Trek. I've got
room.
to the
Oh
point
no,
of
this is it now. Sod Star Trek. But this is so every room has got these quotes. Every room has got these quotes, right? So she goes on about the founder and all these wonderful things that he's done and how he's enriched people and stuff like that. So she goes, so do you have any questions, for us? And I go, well, I know briefly about what the job entails. Like, I'm training people on CRM software and, technical things and factual things and courses and stuff like that. Could you just explain what that is? So I've got a better mindset of what I would be doing during the work. A legitimate answer. What the fuck will I be doing at my job? Right? She was like, that's such a great answer. That's a great answer, Michael. That's fantastic. What a great answer that is. She then admits that they sell courses and software to other people within the industry to help them elevate their business and increase their income revenue. The courses involve putting prompts into ChatGPT and Control C and Ving what comes out of ChatGPT into a Word document and then jazzing it up, okay, with colours and pictures and just making sure that it makes sense. They then package that as a course and sell it to people around the world.
So, did you ask them what they'd done with the other 3 weeks since they started this business? Like, was it decorating the living room? Putting a desk in?
At this point, I'm like, this is not for me. I need to beat cheeks before they make me drink the Kool-Aid, right? So that I said, well, look, I said, the only other question I have is, what is the salary, right? What is the salary expectation? Because it was never mentioned. All it said was competitive salary, right? Which is just
with Mackie D's.
With Mackie D's and maybe the occasional Greg's, right?
Yeah, with a charity shop.
She then mentioned a salary range, right, which was beyond broad, right? Like, essentially, you could be earning a button or a mansion, right? That was the salary expectation, and I'm just like,
So basically, you pay me absolute peanuts, and then you make me earn my salary with commission for everything else.
I have never been the one. In my life, I have never been the one who has ended the interview. I took control of this bedroom, right? With the many quotes, and I ended the interview. I walked out, and when I mean I walked out, right? This is how paranoid I was. They escorted me to the front door. Sorry, the foyer, and watched me walk away. I have never in my life walked away from an interview and deliberately taken 3 shortcuts to make sure that there was no tail on me, to get back into my car and not do the speed limit out of the town. Because I felt uncomfortable. I felt very weirded out, and I just did not want to be there. But give them props.
Did these people have noticeable zips on the back of their necks?
I don't know, man. I don't know. To openly admit you essentially scam people by using AI is a bold move in an interview. It is a very bold move. So when I left and did 118 miles an hour out of the town, I went back home and I did my research. I looked at the description on YouTube, right? And I want to share this with you now, right?
Okay. Got to make sure that we don't get in trouble with it.
I'm not going to mention any names. Is a multi-best-selling author of and they are also a former professional turned successful a country that has free healthcare.
Oh, okay.
The founder founded the company the founder founded the company in his spare room as a successful cash pay only business with no money down and no business or marketing skills. The founder has since scaled from 1 to 4 locations, from 0 to over $1 million in cash pay only revenue, and now helps owners across America and around the world to get more cash pay patients using our proven courses and systems.
Just love how it's like, it's talking about sort of has started in 1 location and they've moved to 4 locations. I'm like, so they moved from 1 room and now they've got 4 rooms. They've got
3 houses,
2 bedrooms,
yeah,
and they've obviously got the bathroom that's probably been made into some kind of cryostasis chamber for the founder or something. Did you see anything like that where he was like sort of?
I heard a life support. I did hear a life support machine. I was convinced that there was a torpedo casing in the bathroom. It was or a Borg vinculum. Do you know what I mean? Like just half a torso suspended via cables. Nice segue. But it was, and I sat down. I was like, 4 locations, 3 of which are within 20 feet of each other.
Yeah. All of it is just
that was my day.
I want to know so much more about this, but we can't.
I will tell you off camera, but that was my day, folks. So forgive me if I am absolutely dead inside and not knowing where the hell I am. I'm convinced there's been a neurotoxin injected into me at some point as I was going up the stairs of many quotes.
You need to make sure that something hasn't happened and you're not technically married to the founder or something now. Like they could come back and say that you've got to sort of, be impregnated by the founder or something.
I had to laugh. Right, I really did have to laugh because I got back and I'm driving home. I mean, I must have looked crazy on the way home as people were overtaking me because I'm sat there going, because I said to them my favourite game was Far Cry 5, a game synonymous with a cult. So I bet as soon as I said,
actually, Far Cry 5 also is very much about cash.
Exactly.
Only.
So I bet when I said Far Cry 5, they were like, ooh, susceptible.
So
anyway,
you basically got to chat to a founder and essentially her voter.
He wasn't even here. He wasn't even there. He wasn't there.
You heard the life.
He was at his private retreat in the Caymans.
I just love that. It's like, yeah, I've always had that though. Like I remember I went to a job interview when I first left uni, and they were talking about how successful the business was, and I'm like, is that why everyone's computers look crap and why we're operating out of someone's house?
Oh,
and you're sitting there being
please.
Like, it's a bold move to try and sell yourself as some super profitable company when you are here.
These Dell towers that they were using, right, were out of commission in 2014. So
the founder in his majesty found them round the back of Lidl.
Praise be to the founder. Anyway, after 40 minutes
You're gonna struggle fitting that one into a fucking short, Goodwill.
That's what the founder said. After 40 minutes, we are here to discuss the two-parter that... Shut up. The two-parter that... You're going to discuss part 1 and 2 today. Yes.
Is this the biggest tangent we've ever had? 40
It is the
minutes
biggest
to get
tangent,
into the
yeah.
actual episode.
Yeah, all hail the founder. But we are here to discuss the most pivotal and historic two-parter in Star Trek history, as far as a lot of people are concerned. The best of both worlds. These are two episodes that changed Star Trek forever. It changed its tone. It changed its direction. It was the smoking gun which turned Star Trek into what we all know and love in the golden ages. It gave us Star Trek First Contact. It gave us Picard season 1, 2, and I mean most notably season 3. It had lasting repercussions in every series that came after it, and my God, like, this came out 35 years ago. Okay, and I watched it again today after I came back from my cult initiation, and that to be continued, that final scene in part 1, to this day, I still get hairs standing on the back of my neck. It is chilling, it is riveting, and I know what's going to happen. I've seen it hundreds of times, but what a cliffhanger. And this was the most talked about cliffhanger of the day, really, and it still is widely considered as one of the best cliffhangers in television history, because what you have to remember, guys, back then there was no internet, there was no like instant information. People didn't know if Patrick Stewart was coming back into Star Trek. No one knew what was going to happen. And to leave it on such a cliffhanger as they did, my God. But I wanna.
Isn't it interesting that last week we reviewed what I would class as one of the worst cliffhanger and season openers in Trek, like as in a clunky execution of it, and then this week we're getting to talk about what is from the same show as well, possibly the best, like possibly the best cliffhanger and beginning of a season. Possibly
the best two episodes, like two joint episodes we've ever had. But I do feel that, you know, there could have been room for improvement. But we won't go scene by scene with this one, obviously. We will discuss the synopsis of the story, and we will discuss the themes and notable characters. I mean, Shelby, obviously. And we will give our analysis and review of this. So the synopsis of the best of both worlds. The Borg begin an invasion of the Federation. The Kool-Aid man. The Borg
should watch
begin...
more of the Founders' videos.
Then
you'd know how to do this. Did he have one on how to read, or did he just say go to ChatGPT?
This does not serve the Founders. Oh my God! Were they Vorta?
I think so. What's your favourite football team? But you must like a football team.
You have to like a football team. The Founder likes football. The Borg begin an invasion of Federation space much sooner than expected. With the Enterprise unable to affect them, the Borg capture Captain Picard and turn him into one of their own. I mean, this episode, when you think about it, straight out of the gate, it starts with like a what the moment when the Enterprise is receiving a distress call from Jurat 4, and they beam down because they can't find any signs of life or anything like that. And when they beam down and they pull the camera away, and
there's just a huge crater.
A crater where New Providence was, and you're just like, oh shit. Because at this point of the episode, you don't know it's the Borg, but it's someone extremely powerful to essentially there. Look at that.
There we go.
That is a colony. To have a cold
I love
open,
the idea of. I love the idea of them being like, we will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own, but like wholesale, as in we just lifted up the entire city and nicked it, you know.
A literal wholesale. But I mean, straight away, what a amazing cold open that is. Just to be like, oh, there was a colony, now it's a crater, and you're just like, what? But just everything about the first episode, where they suspect it's, when they suspect it's the Borg, and they detect, the similar signatures as the Enterprise had when the Borg attacked them, setting up that the Borg are back, and this time they mean business, literally ripping a colony from the ground.
It's the idea of how much the Borg and Q, suggesting the Borg and kind of introducing them to the Borg, how much it changed Starfleet's plan for the future. How they were getting comfortable, they were getting very sort of lazy, potentially, like stagnant, and then they've got people like the characters we meet in this, like Hansen and Shelby, who are like, hey, we need to work on ways to deal with the Borg when they eventually get to us. But then what this episode says is, hey, they got here a lot quicker than we expected, and that all of the plans that got set in motion, and we see aren't ready yet. And then we see with DS9 the fact of going, or like, the Dominion War would never have been able to be won had the Borg not come along.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because Starfleet would have been so unprepared for the Dominion if it hadn't have had to sort of up its game for the Borg.
What we see at this time period in Star Trek and the Next Generation is that Starfleet, what you think Starfleet is not there. They are very small. Like, Wolf 359 takes out a third of the fleet. There was only 40 ships. Yeah. Right? So a Federation spanning thousands of light years, and a third of your fleet is gone, and a third of your fleet is only 40 ships. Now, I'm not good at math. I am definitely not good at math. I don't know what a third, what 40 is out of a third or whatever, right? It's a small number. I'm
120 ships.
So you're saying in the Federation there is 120 ships only, right?
I think there would have been more ships. I think they're saying starships. I think they're saying things of the equivalence to the Enterprise, whereas there would be shuttles, there would be sort of, what are they called, transports and stuff like that.
But still.
But I think in terms of the attack fleet, like the actual, hey, these are actually to protect us, is probably only 120.
It shows though that, like you said, Starfleet and the Federation became very complacent. They had wars in the past, but they had become extremely complacent, and they did not, they possibly just viewed shipbuilding, as not a matter of urgency. They had aging ships. They had, the Galaxy class took 20 years to bring into service, and the Galaxy class were like, this is the finest, this is going to have families on board, and it's going to be deep space, and it's going to be this. That took 20 years. And when you look at all the ships that we see in Star Trek at this point, these are ships that are like 50, 60, 80 years old, and they're still pottering about, and the Galaxy class is like brand new, and you're like, holy shit. Like but
then we see, because of this, how quickly they go, let's make the Defiant. Like, how quickly they can knock stuff like that out, because they go, we need to pull off Ingra out here. Like,
and you think Picard in the Enterprise encountered the Borg a year prior, transmitted all that information, the debrief, the relevant information to Starfleet. Starfleet were like, we are going to prepare for this, we're going to have a lead time, and then a year later they're essentially caught with their pants down. They don't have the ships, they don't have that technology. And what I
think the frightening thing is it's more than a year, because this is like season 3, so this is like probably about 2 or 3 years later.
No, it's a year later.
Well, Encounter at Farpoint is the first episode, like, of Next Generation, and
That's
this is
not
the
the
bit
Borg.
between the end of 3 and 4. A
The-
season's not a year, but it's effectively like,
it is. So they encountered the Borg in season 2. So that was a year.
I thought it was Encounter at Farpoint.
No,
was the
Encounter at
first
Farpoint was
Borg.
Q. Q
bollocks.
then led
Okay.
them to the
I'm being
Borg
an
in
idiot.
season. Yeah, then Q led them to the Borg in season 2. So they had a year's lead time, but when we get introduced to Admiral Hansen and Commander Shelby, and they go, we honestly thought we had a lot more time than what we did, and we are not prepared. And we see this all at 1.5 years. Thank you,
Okay.
Dystopian Prophet.
So we're in the middle. Thank you, Dystopian Prophet.
Thank you,
Like,
thank you. Mwah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
you're both right. We're somewhere in the middle.
But it's praise be to the founder. But we see all the way through these 2 episodes how woefully weak the Federation is at this point. And you have to admit, like, if the Romulans knew this, if I mean, I know the Klingons are allies, but if the Klingons knew this, like, Starfleet would be caught with their pants down.
What's so interesting, though, is after Wolf 359, where they lose like a third of the ships, and they say, hey, the Klingons are coming and sending stuff, so that means that they can't keep it secret from the Klingons. The Klingons would know this happened, and it's odd that no one makes any moves. Like, the Romulans and the Klingons don't actually turn on the Federation and go, lost a third of their fleet, time for some change. And it's really interesting, but it suggests how dangerous the Borg is. The fact that the Romulans are still going to be like, they'll keep sitting back, being like, let's see what happens here. Because I think they're kind of like going, okay, so they did manage to stop the Borg. We don't have any ways to stop the Borg, so let's keep them around for a bit. And it's really interesting that, like, if Wolf 359 hadn't happened, and then they hadn't managed to find a solution to the Borg at the end of this episode, I think the Romulans would have gone in for the kill. Or the Klingons,
They would have, the Romulans alone would have taken advantage of the situation. Absolutely would have taken advantage. But yeah, so we really do get to see how willfully underpowered Starfleet is as a military organization in dealing with, I mean, it's 1 cube. But if you think, like, if there was a call, like, imagine the Dominion invading the Alpha Quadrant 7 years before they did. Imagine that. They would have taken it like that. So, what happens in these 2 episodes really does set the precedent for the rest of Star Trek. And you see, even... so it was 3 years, and then DS9 was 3 years later, and then season 6. So 6, 7, 8 years, right? After Wolf 359, where you see Starfleet has got hundreds of ships. They don't just have 120 or 140. They have, each separate fleet has like 100 ships, 50 ships, and they are big ass Galaxy classes and Akiras and stuff like that. They've really sort of like gone, we cannot let this happen again.
Like you're saying, they've got it where Shelby, when she's talking about, like, oh, well, our weapons tech, we've got, like, it's going to take about 24 months until we have like an actual working prototype for anything. And then seeing that, and like what you were saying about how long it takes them to develop ships and stuff, because they're like, hey, they don't need to be attack ships, they don't need to be things like the Defiant or Voyager, they just need to be sort of explore the galaxy. We've got deals with the other races, there's no threats or anything, so we're perfectly fine. And then you see after Wolf 359 how quickly they managed to rebuild a fleet, and just how quickly they managed to knock out things like the Defiant and start the Voyager project.
I think it's a humbling moment for Starfleet where they've gone, we are principally explorers and scientists and stuff, but it's like, but now we recognize that there are threats out there and we need to shore up our defenses. And tech nerd moment, guys, this little ship over there, the USS Adequate, right there, the Akira class, is a principal vessel designed and built as a response to the Borg, like the Defiant class, like the Saber class. All the ships you see in First Contact, they are all in response to Wolf 359. So it's Starfleet going, we can't be complacent anymore. We can't just rely on like 100 capital big slow moving ships. We need to have these ones capable of defending our colonies and stuff. And it's like, I wonder, like, in universe, if there was like a public outcry from like the colonies of the Federation, where they went, hey, this single cube went straight to the heart of the Federation, taking out colonies on the way, and you're telling us the nearest ship to, say, this planet was 6 days away? And then when they get to Mars, one of the like most aggro things is like the Sol system, or Terran, is the heart of the Federation. It is the home of the United Federation of Planets, right? You've got Utopia, Planitia, Fleet Yards, and Mars. What do they do to stop the cube? 3 tiny ships. And I think what's really humbling in this episode, in part 2, is when that cube intercepts those 3, it just goes and then just continues going. And then Worf just goes, they've broken through the Mars defense perimeter. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. They just swapped 3 flies and then just continued. What the fuck, guys? The Romulans are sat there going, dude, we could have invaded them 20 years ago with 1 warbird. What the fuck?
But we're too busy being devious.
We're too busy scheming and having shoulder pads.
We need a good
so
scheme for doing this.
Yeah,
But-
and it's just, but yeah, and
I think what you're saying is just like, and it leads us onto our main themes, okay?
Yes.
Like to get onto the themes of the episode, and the main thing is hubris. Like to quote Picard, sheer fucking hubris, which is, and it's played out in 2 different ways, okay? Because what we see is we see the idea of something, a power getting complacent, a power getting comfortable, a power going, hey, actually, I don't need to change things up at all. I'm comfortable how I am. I can take things at my own pace and just kind of enjoy things. And then having another power coming along that's far more dominant, that's far more sort of, you know, going, hey, I'm going to take what's yours because that's what I want, and I'm going to assimilate everything you have. And we see it played out in 2 different stories. We see it played out in both the Borg and the Federation, but we also see it played out with Shelby and Riker, where it's the idea of Riker as someone who's become really comfortable in his position. He doesn't want to ascend the ladder anymore. He's perfectly fine where he is. He's not, you know, he's not going to build new ships. He's not going to build new weapons. He's not going to deal with like possible threats because he's comfortable where he is. And then you have Shelby, who comes in like the Borg, being like, hey, I've got ideas, I want to do this, I know what I want, kind of thing, and you need to leave the job so I can take the job and you can go off and do something else. And the fact that it plays out so beautifully in the first part, especially, that, you know, it kind of goes like, yeah, we can relate to Starfleet. Like, even though we go, oh, stupid Starfleet, why didn't they prepare? Why didn't they work faster when they knew that the Borg were coming? And yet here we are probably sitting in our jobs or sitting in our sort of family lives and being like, oh yeah, why haven't I done that thing I want to do yet? No, actually, why haven't I saved up for that yet or done that? And it's this idea of, when we become comfortable, we kind of, you know, you have to keep your hands on the wheel, you know? Like, we can't always have like a pickup. We can't always have the situation kicking us up our arse. And we can't always, you know, like, we don't automatically have the Q or the Borg doing it for us. Or, in the case of Riker, Picard. Because I love the bit where Picard is literally like, reconsider your decision. Like, not in a kind of, because I want to get rid of you, but he's saying it in a kind of, I want what's best for you. I don't think staying here is it, you know?
It's very, I mean, I've sort of gone through that myself in terms of complacency.
All of us have. All of us have.
And, you know, I mean, very recently, but it's the fear of the unknown. It's that, oh my god, he's gone. Oh no, the Founders got him. Oh, never mind. But
so it's finally getting dark, and I was like, I forgot to put my ring light on. So so I'm like, let's turn that on now. So I look even older than I was.
But you get that, you get that complacency, and then once you are in a situation where, you know, I'm comfortable and there's opportunities that come up, it's the fear of failure, it's the fear of losing your comfort blanket, and it's the fear of the unknown. And here we see Riker. Riker is a capable officer. He is a capable first officer. He has been in command, and there is no doubt in anyone's mind that he will be a great captain. And even Hansen says, we have rolled the chair out 3 times, and every single occasion he has turned it down. And the problem with Riker is it's that fear. Well, I wouldn't say fear. It's the anxiety of progression, and it's the anxiety of, is he doing the right thing? Is now the right time to go? And sometimes in life, you don't know unless you try. And yes, sometimes it can be incredibly rewarding. Sometimes it can be incredibly like, oh my God. But if you don't try it, you will never find out. And what we see is Shelby is the antithesis of Riker in this episode. These 2 episodes are very much Riker episodes. It is all about Riker, the choices that he makes, and what he is going to do for his career. And what we, I mean, especially in part 2 when they get to Wolf 359, because he is offered the command of the Melbourne. Okay.
Well, yeah.
And
he
turned it down. He turned it down because he felt that the Enterprise is where he belongs at the moment. And everyone's going, you are crazy. You have been offered a command and you could be doing this and you could be doing that. And then what we see, it's sort of like, it's like a justification of Riker's decision in that moment, because Shelby, they go up to the screen, they see all these ships, which I can name them all, by the way. I'm such a nerd. Love me. And then she goes, like the Kyushu, the Tolstoy, the Melbourne. And then you sort of see Riker, hunch down and then go back up. And it's basically the audience going, if he'd have done that, ripped the Band-Aid off and left, he'd be dead. So he did the right thing. But it's going with your gut and knowing where you need to go, but you have to listen not just to your gut, you have to listen to your brain and you have to listen to your heart, and you have to weigh up everything that you need to do at that point. Is it the best move for me? Is it the wrong move? Do I have a feeling about this? Like, we joke about the last 40 minutes, right? But I had that gut feeling before I got there. Nothing.
Well, you couldn't find the right building.
Yeah, but nothing was like pointing towards this is a bad thing. This is, run. But there was that intuition, there was that gut feeling there. But I went with my head and went, interview practice, you never know, take it with go in with an open mind. But you have that gut feeling, and I can sort of understand why Riker would do that. But like you said, it's his complacency in not taking these and feeling that. Go on.
I think it's finding the theme for me for this is the fact of there is no right or wrong answer, like you're saying. It's the fact of, all of our decisions have consequences. If he had decided to leave and take command of the Melbourne, he would have been dead. However, he wouldn't have known that when he took it. I think the idea is it's fighting against hubris. It's the idea of not going full DS9 like, hey, we need to do blood tests on all the citizens and whatnot, and in order for security, like America's doing, where it goes, hey, everything needs to be about security and we need to take away freedom in order to justify security, and here's us getting demonetized again. But
we're in TikTok jail at the moment.
I know. Yeah.
The YouTube shorts have been restricted to a certain amount of views.
Because it just kind of goes like, you were talking about American politics. You can't be seen by people. But it's the idea of like finding that balance of going, don't just jump off a cliff. Don't just go like, hey, jump into everything and live life for the fullest and, do skydiving and rock climbing and stuff. It's the idea of kind of keep improving yourself, keep aware of your scenarios, keep aware of your options, but do what your gut tells you to do.
Yeah.
And that's what Riker ends up doing, because if it would be a different story if at the end of the two-parter he went, actually, I'm going to leave and like have my own command kind of thing, because I've finally gotten over that fear. But the message is actually him going, no, I have thought about it. I have stretched myself and I have sort of seen all of the options and whatnot, and I'm fully aware of what the situation is. However, I actually feel like staying here, and that is my choice. Rather than complacency, it is his choice to do it.
Dystopian.
And I kind of love that. Yeah.
Dystopian Prophet has hit the nail on the head when it comes to the actual episode. Riker was offered the captain's seat to show the audience that he is ready in case Patrick Stewart didn't come back for season 4. And this harks back to what I said earlier on, where it was 1990. Okay, the internet wasn't there. No one knew if Patrick Stewart was going to come back, and even Paramount didn't know if Patrick Stewart was going to renew his contract. I mean, thankfully he did. But they deliberately
didn't he not get on with people to start with, and it was only over the course of the seasons that they actually he kind of warmed to people.
He got on with people. He just didn't. I mean, in season 1, he just thought it would be one season, syndicated, done, move on. But he had issues. That's why the uniforms changed in season 3, because the whole uniform debacle in the earlier episodes. But it's. Yeah, they deliberately left it open-ended. But if we look at Riker, if we take the actual Hollywood, to paraphrase Mark, Hollywood bullshit, to take that out and then look at it as an in-universe thing, like you said, it's about weighing everything up. And when you know something is right for you, you just know. And I have been on loads of interviews over the last couple of weeks, and I mean loads of interviews, and I will openly say at this moment there is only one place where I have had the vibe where my brain, my heart and my gut went, yeah, this is somewhere you should be. This is a job you should do. This is somewhere where you should be. Now, I have gone into every other role, every other interview, and there's always been something. And you sit there and you go, oh, you just overanalyzing and stuff like that. But then you go, well, no. And, I just have this feeling. I just have this gut feeling. And then when you leave the interview and you check like reviews and stuff like that, and you go, oh, I was actually right. Like, my perception is actually really good because these reviews have said, oh, it's a toxic this. And you're like, wow. Like, thinking and be like using all of your senses to know when something is a right fit or not, it really does work. And this is exactly what Riker does. He's been offered these 3 commands and he's turned down those 3 commands because he knows, head, heart and gut, that they are not right for him. And I want to, like I said, it is very much, these 2 are very much Riker episodes. We show that Riker can be a capable commander, a capable leader, and take those risks. I think it's time to discuss Shelby. I really think it's time to discuss Shelby. So everyone in their professional life, everyone watching this, everyone watching it back on record, everyone has had encounters with a Shelby at one point or another, or multiple times within their professional life. We have seen those headstrong, career-driven people who will stop at nothing to get what they want, and you are just a step for them to go over. And what we see here is Shelby, like I said, is the antithesis of Riker, but she shows that she's presented that she can do everything better than Riker. She is capable of leading initiative. She's capable of this, but she lacks the wisdom and the experience that Riker has, where Riker, it's all about that managing, that management experience, where you've got managers where they're just like, I am doing this, I'm career driven, I will do this, I will take initiative, and we will do this, and we will do this. And then you've got those managers that go, well, no, you have to take the team's feelings into consideration. You need to take in various factors. You need to think about the situation as a whole and then make the sound decision based on all the factors, not just go in. And what we see, and I noticed, I mean, like I said, I've seen this episode, I've seen both episodes hundreds of times, but today I really paid close attention to Shelby, her mannerisms, her eye contact, the way she conducts herself, and the way that people conduct themselves around her. And there were a few scenes that really really spoke to me, and also made me see how good Elizabeth Dennehy was at portraying a career-minded officer. Now, if you guys haven't already, our friend of the show, the Clone Star podcast, who I also work on because I just love YouTube, they have recently done an interview with Elizabeth Dennehy about her role as Shelby, and I cannot recommend it enough because she's a fantastic actor. And what I noticed, specifically in part 1, where Picard was in the room, okay, there is a scene on the bridge where they are just chasing the Borg. They finally intercept the Borg cube, and it's the first time we see the cube magnified. And before we get to see that, if you have not, watch Shelby. So you've got in the 3 seats, you've got Picard in the centre, Shelby to our right, Riker on our left, as it should be, right? Picard stands up. Picard is assessing the situation. He's getting all this information from his bridge crew. Watch Shelby in this scene. Not one point does she break eye contact with Picard. She is watching every single step that he makes, and I'm talking like her head is moving, her eyes are locked on Jean-Luc Picard all the way through this. She is fixated on him, and I sat there and I was like, I've just so many cables. I sat there and I'm like, oh, she's just doing it because she wants Picard's job, and I'm like, no, she is learning, she is absorbing everything that Jean-Luc does as a captain. Well, she's constantly in learning mode.
She's assuming that that's her new boss. She's assuming that she will be his first officer on the Enterprise.
Yeah.
And so she's like, I need to learn everything I can from him and stuff. Yeah. And that's like I was saying before, that's the difference between them, where Riker has learned from Picard and does learn from Picard in his own way, but it's not in this I will track everything he does that Shelby has. So it's this idea of Riker getting stuck in his ways and not learning new things, and then Shelby being like a sponge for new knowledge and always there to be like, hey, we need to try this, we need to try that, we need to try that. And it's the difference between those two characters vying for the same job.
And it's the tension that we see between Riker and Shelby all the way through episode 1 mainly, where because we find out from Admiral Hansen when he's talking to Picard that Riker has been offered a role, offered a captaincy, and he's turned it down. And then what we hear is when Riker escorts Shelby to her quarters, that essentially she's just, oh, well, I'm great that the Enterprise is going to be a great place. I'm looking forward to this. And, she's just assuming. She is just assuming that Riker has taken the captaincy because in her mind, you are offered a captaincy, you take it because that's what I would do. And this is going to be her new command. This is going to be her new post. That she is so overconfident that she thinks, I will apply for this and I will get it because I am Shelby. I am Commander Shelby. I am born for this role. I am molded into this. And this is our first, and again, it goes back to hubris. Like you said, it goes back to her overconfidence that Riker's going to leave, I'm going to get this job, so I'm going to do what I can, show initiative, and I am going to absorb everything straight away because he is out the door, no one gives a shit about him, this is my role. And Riker quickly puts her down and basically,
the thing for me though, the interesting point is that like we see this before, okay, where we have a more blunt lesson with like less talented writers who are like, hey, here's the upstart and oh, she doesn't know what she doesn't know and she's just going to make reckless decisions and whatnot. But what we see is both of them getting wins and losses throughout the episodes. Like that's the important thing. Like, you're talking about Shelby as if she's a negative character, or like a threat, whereas she's not. She's actually a great character. Like in terms of like, she's actually an asset to Starfleet.
She's
but it's the fact of she's too raw. She's too green, and that she's too aspirational, and that causes problems. But we do see loads of bits that I love where Riker's in the wrong. Like, for instance, when Riker basically sort of sends her to bed effectively, when they're sort of, they're talking about the weapons and stuff like that. Like, they're talking about weapons and everyone's like, hey, I'm too tired, my brain stopped working kind of thing. And then Riker's like, yeah, let's adjourn, let's all go to bed. And Shelby basically goes, hey, I'm fine, I can keep working, I'll work with Mr. Data, he doesn't need to sleep, we can keep going for hours.
Yeah.
And Riker does the dick move of going, no, I'm in charge, so I'm going to boss you around because I can. I'm going to flex my muscles just because I can, and go, no, stop that kind of thing.
And this is
it is a weird, and it's a dick move from him, but you get the idea of he is feeling threatened by her because she has had wins. She got the tractor beam destroyed on the Borg ship and managed to help them escape, because she was like, hey, Mr. Data, try this, like, do all of that. And it's the fact that her ideas work, it's just she doesn't have the know-how of going, she doesn't have the savvy behind things, but she has the drive.
This is what I was going to say. Like, what we see is Riker on the back foot, essentially, through most of the first episode. But what we eventually see is that they learn from each other.
Yeah, he has to step up. In the second episode, because Picard is gone, the one that I want to talk about it later, but the scene with Guinan and Riker, I nearly said Riker there. Scene between Guinan and Riker.
Sorry, guys,
and
I'm
it basically
so
goes,
hot.
Picard is gone, you have to step up. And then Riker goes, and then he kind of finds his way again, he kind of works out how to do it. And it's wonderful, but that's all in the second episode. The first episode, like you say, is him on the back foot being like, how did I used to do this? How do I keep up with someone like this?
Goodwill, I notice you're not streaming vertically also. Might be worth you doing double view time. Are you on about the vertically? The YouTube shorts are done vertically when it comes to trekking up north. Are you on about the actual LCAR's view screen, or are you actually going on about the show's format?
Are you lying on your side currently?
The show, the analytics, you guys are going to be surprised. The analytics show, our show, is primarily broadcast on television. People watch it on TV.
It's weird. I have that with Snatch Talk. Like, Snatch Talk is mainly watched on TV, and I've got like people sending me photos of them watching me on this huge plasma TV, and I'm like, what a waste! What a waste of that TV.
Using shorts to show live shows. Oh, right, okay, right. Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, sure. It's something I can look into when I'm not getting interviewed by cults. But yeah, and they learn from each other, and like I said, I mean, the tension that builds all the way through. And the one thing I absolutely love, that there is a scene in the turbo lift just after they've had a meeting in the observation lounge. Shelby has a recommendation. Riker goes, "Thank you. I will present it to the captain because I present all recommendations that are brought to the table." Right? She walks away. He then goes to the ready room to present them. Shelby is already there. She has gone full Karen, and she has gone over his head and straight to the manager. And Picard, thank you very much for bringing this, but we will use it as a backup plan. We will go with this. Then we get the scene in the turbo lift between Riker and Shelby. This is the showdown that it's been building up all the way through the episode. And there is one line that defines Shelby in this episode when she goes, "With all due respect, sir, you're in my way."
Yeah.
That just defines Shelby as a character at that point of the episode. She sees an opportunity to be the first officer on the Federation flagship. She wants that, and what is annoying her beyond belief is that this fella has turned down 3 commands and is not getting out of her way to allow her to move up her career, because she does not want a first officer posting on any ship. She is so confident in her abilities, in her knowledge, that she deserves the Enterprise, and that's what she wants. And we see it like with Shelby as a character. We see like how unbelievably driven she is. 35 years later, she's a fleet admiral. She is literally went straight to the top of the totem pole, earned all the pips, and she is the fleet admiral, and she is captaining the Enterprise F. And then we don't talk about what happened later on, but you know, for that was a great arc on Shelby, because it's just like, yeah, she did not stop. She literally continued until she could get all the right. She prestiged herself on Call of Duty.
And you wonder about that. Where is that her, or is that time? Because what the scene between Riker and Troy that we have before this, where basically Riker's saying to Troy, like, hey, I used to be like that. I used to be a go-getter. What happened? And she's like, and Troy's like, well, you know, you grew up. You're more seasoned now. You're sort of, you know, you're older, you're wiser, kind of thing. And he's like, that's not a good thing for a man, kind of thing. But it's true. But then you wonder, like, because that's how Riker. So we could have had that exact same scene in the turbo lift of, oh, you're in my way, but with Riker saying it to someone else.
Yeah.
Like, you know, 10 years beforehand. But the thing I wonder is the difference between them, the reason why Riker doesn't become an admiral and he's like a retired captain when we meet him in Picard and stuff, like he's like a sort of, you know, chiseled old man essentially, and Shelby's like a fleet admiral, is it because Starfleet got the kick up the arse? Because someone with the drive of Shelby didn't encounter anything that allowed them to slow down? Because you just go, hey, you're this go-getter, then you immediately get involved with the Borg, you immediately have Wolf 359, then you immediately have the Dominion War, then you immediately have like the fall of Romulus and whatnot, and you just kind of go like, yeah, there isn't actually a time to get complacent. And for someone like her, she probably did just go bang, 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 bang. You know, we need people like that.
And what you have to think as well, Elizabeth Shelby, Commander Shelby, at this point, she is young. She's in the late 20s, early 30s. My existential crisis of the day, of which there has been many, was that when this was filmed, Frakes was 37 years old. Now, if you think about it, he is the first officer. That's amazing. Yeah, he is the first officer of the Federation flagship, and he is 37 years old. Where captains are, you know, people are taking captaincies in the 30s, and they're taking command of ships, and you have to wonder: is Riker one of those employees that they find a station in their life and they become content? And I'm not saying he was content with being first officer and everything like that. Like, the reason why we don't see him progress, I mean, the obvious reason is his daughter, where he musters out of the service to be on Nepenthe. But I think he would have been a Kirk, where he is happy. He has achieved this rank, and that's enough for him. And I think, again, it's a brilliant contrast between Shelby and Riker, where Shelby is just like, no, I will go as high as I can physically go. And we see that in Picard. She is top of the totem pole. She's helming a flagship. She's got all the pips under the sun. And then you just see where Riker is going, yeah, I want a career, but I don't want to go past this. And we've mentioned this a lot on Trekkin Up North, where you see those people in the workplace where they go, the question in interviews I get, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And it's always, oh, well, I'd like to progress and I'd like to do this. When in reality, it's like, I would be happy. I
literally answered one of them with dead.
Dead, yes. Someone asked me today, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I was like, dude, I don't see myself anywhere in 2 months. But it's
on the ground outside that window,
in the sea, floating towards France. But it's it's a bit morbid. But anyway.
Imagine, I think that's what you need to
But
start doing, man. You need to
What's
start
walking
trolling
into the
interviews.
sea?
You need to go. You need to go to interviews specifically intending not to get the job and just see what you can get away with.
Yeah. But I see these employees. I mean, I was one of those employees where it's like you achieve a certain part of your career, and that's enough for you. You are content in that. You're content in that point. You are happy in that role. You don't want to take on the extra responsibility. Everything is taken care of, and some people are just happy. And I think Riker in this instance is like, I am happy in this position, and Shelby is like, what? And Shelby is the one like, I will continue and I will strive and I will do this because this is my goal. And they are very chalk and cheese.
This is the thing, though. This is what I'm going to pose to you as a question, and what I'm going to pose to the chat as a question, is the idea, and obviously the comment section, but I'm not going to see it because it's live. Is that because of the fundamental differences as people between Shelby and Riker?
Yeah.
Or is it because of the situation that Riker's in? Because you've got to think that it's like Shelby doesn't seem to have any love interest. She doesn't seem to. She's got like a kind of father figure, but effectively in Hansen. But he's a bit of a creep because he kind of admits, like,
An
oh,
old
well,
man's
if I was a
fantasy."
younger man, I would have banged her. And you're like, that's awkward as fuck, if I'm honest, Admiral. But, you know,
It's-
you
yeah.
are a Starfleet Admiral, so you've got to be a dickhead.
I mean,
Those are the rules.
Paralleling
But-
my experience of people like Shelby, okay, in my professional life, and of which I've
See, that's it.
experienced.
Dystopian Prophet, that is exactly what I was about to say. It's the fact of the fact of with Riker, it's the fact that he has Picard, who's a father figure that he
Yeah.
doesn't want to move away from, and he's
Yeah.
got Troy, who in his heart of heart he is still in love with, and he would not be able to leave the ship and leave her again, even if he's not willing to admit, like, it's weird. It feels like he's closing off his childhood and he's accepting that he's become a man if he gets with Troy, and he kind of goes, right, cool, we're together, we'll be together forever because I know that it's true love.
He even mentions
But
that.
but he doesn't want to do that yet, but he doesn't want to be away from her. So yeah, you're right, he's not going to leave the Enterprise while she's there. Sorry, Goodwill, but yeah, that was the point I was going to make.
So my answer would be, and Dystopian Prophet has sort of like filled in part of it, but I have seen many people in my career resonate like Shelby. Okay, now they are honed, focused, and driven people. Now, those people don't have partners, don't have children, don't have many friends to say, because their life is their career, and they don't have. I'm gonna paraphrase a Simpsons episode where Mr. Burns is talking to Lisa, and no, he's not talking to Lisa. What was it? It's like there's three F's that will ruin any entrepreneur and any businessman: friends, family, and something else. But basically, you sacrifice those things. And for Shelby, all she has, and it's kind of sad in a way, but all she has is her career. That is her singular drive in life. What we see with Riker is that he was exactly like Shelby when he came aboard, but what he goes a different path, and he realizes there is more to life than just a career. And what we see in this episode, and what you have touched upon there, is that he realizes that to pursue his career, he sacrificed other things, namely his relationship with Deanna, his family, and he's learning how to love. And Troy taught him how to love, and we see that he realizes that there is more to life than just having that career. And we see that progression in Picard. He's had a family, he's had 2 children, he's married to Troy, they live together. He is content. He's achieved what he wanted to achieve in his career, which is his goal. He has had his family, he's got the woman he loves, he is content. What we then see with Shelby is she has got what she wanted, was the career that she wanted to be top of the totem pole. She wanted to be in the big chair. She wanted to run it all, essentially. And you just see that the two different trajectories that they're on, and I see it so much, and I feel sorry for those people, but then in another instance, I'm like, no, because that's what they want, and they are in themselves happy with that. They don't want.
The thing. We only get one life, and the fact is, this is advice for anyone. It's the fact of we get one life, we take the path we take. There's no point having regrets. There's no point going, oh, if only I'd done that. And it's like, well, you don't get that choice. You don't get to redo it. So it's the idea of going, this is the situation you're in now. What do you want to change about it, and how are you going to change that? One thing I want to mention is a parallel between a different show, obviously, with a very similar character to Shelby, but in a different kind of way, which is Star Wars Andor, which is absolutely incredible.
Not seen season 2 yet.
No, but there's a character in it called Daedra. Obviously, we know Daedra. She is a female Imperial officer for the ISB, and she is Shelby. She is that kind of go-getter, where she is like, nothing is important, and then she gets into a relationship, and then she manages to twist it so that it benefits her work. That's season 2. But then obviously things don't go well for for Daedra in the end, which you can guess because she's not in Rogue One or anything afterwards. But it's the idea of these people where you just go, Shelby is lucky because she has that drive, she has that kind of cold going for her goals, but it's for a good cause. It's for the Federation. It's for a good thing. It's how horrible it is when we see people like that doing it for evil with that drive and going like, wow, imagine if Shelby was working for the Romulans. Imagine if Shelby was working for the Dominion or something. You would just be like, that would be terrifying. And so it's really interesting seeing how it's not the drive of the person, it's the situation they're in that determines whether they're evil, whether they're sort of bad or not. I don't know what I'm saying, sorry.
I know exactly what you are saying, but she's a polarizing character. She's a very divisive character, and I think she is one of the best characters in the episodes of Star Trek, in the best of both worlds.
I just like that she's nuanced, because she helps so many times, and she's invaluable. They wouldn't get through this situation without her. And the fact that Riker matures and kind of goes, and he accepts that. He has the whole scene, is it in the second episode, where he basically goes, yep, Mr. Data, you would have been my choice for a first officer, but nope, I have to give it to Shelby because she is the best person for the job right now, kind of thing. And it's him admitting it, like from the first episode where he's like going, nope, go to your room, I'm in charge so I can boss you about, even if it's for no particular reason. And obviously she falls into it of going, oh, actually, I trust this guy, he knows what he's talking about, I will follow his orders, rather than what she is in the first episode, which is like, hey, I didn't really like your plan for the team, so me and Data just beamed down to the planet on our own, kind of thing, like early, and didn't tell anyone. And it's these two people learning to work with each other, learning how to benefit each other, and learning lessons from each other. Riker going, maybe I can be a go-getter again. Maybe I can get out of this funk that I've got myself into, or this comfortable spot that I've got myself into.
Yeah. Let's move on and talk about the Borg in these two episodes. They're
pretty good.
This for me is this is peak Borg. This is I mean, obviously this and First Contact, but this shows how terrifying an enemy the Borg is, how cold they are in what they want to do, and their not plan, but their goal for assimilation on this, because one cube can do so much damage to the Federation, and it really is, like I said, it is terrifying to watch the episode for the first time and go, oh shit, look, I mean that itself, like you said with the cold open, that is the level of damage. They can wipe the slate clean on a planet and then just continue on.
They could get rid of Birmingham.
Oh, one could only hope. But come on,
maybe we should have let them get to Earth. Maybe they're just
Well-
taking out Middlesbrough.
Well, in season 3 of Picard, they were targeting Liverpool, so they were close. But
Oh, so close, just a little bit to the left, little bit to the left.
you. But
I'm just
Doncaster
I'll
as
teleport
well.
over to the Borg ship and just push the laser a little bit to the side. Get Birmingham.
It's the one with the canals. But just someone just looking up from the Borg and going, "Oh no, the Borg." But
How finally, death.
assimilate this. But we
Birmingham and the Borg. That's
Borgmingham. Where did I get my Enterprise D? 2009 Diamond Select first issue launch, fully lighted, source of separation, stand broke because it was crap.
There we go. That's it. What Dystopian Prophet's saying, as a kid I saw them as mechanical vampires.
Yeah.
Proper scary. It's true though. The thing is, this is the peak, the Borg being terrifying.
Yes.
And we can talk about a lot of things. Like obviously we talk about Voyager where it defangs the Borg, where the Borg become like a monster of the week rather than the, hey, these are really scary like they are here. And it's an odd one. It's controversial because I know we've covered a lot of other Borg episodes and we've covered like First Contact, but I am still kind of on the fence in the regards of I don't know if the Queen spoiled the Borg, because seeing this and just realizing how much I love the idea of on the view screen, it's not a face, it's not a person, it's just a room
collective.
showing this. Yeah, it's showing the scale of the Borg ship. So it's basically just, it's not like, it's literally on the monitor is just going, hey, here's one of our rooms and it's massive and full of more people than you could ever deal with. And there's something terrifying about that it's just this disembodied voice, this impersonal sort of thing, rather than what the Queen becomes, where she becomes, oh, I'm a representation of the Borg and I am like, I'm a face to it all kind of thing, and I kind of preferred it being so cold and faceless. Like, yeah.
The Borg Queen gave the Borg emotion where it was not needed. The most terrifying thing about the Borg is that they are driven by one thing: perfection. And they will add biological and technological distinctiveness into their collective to achieve that perfection. And for me, having no emotion when you are doing it, having just that one singular drive, no feelings, no remorse, no expressions at all, because again, they are just a collective. They are drones. Really showed how terrifying they are, because it's like you can't how can you communicate with an entity that has no centralized figure, has no like chain of command, and has no emotion and no like empathy, no reasoning, where they are just literally driven by that one singular goal, and that's it. That's all they are ever being driven, one singular goal to achieve perfection. And the Borg Queen, like you say with Borg in Voyager, the Borg Queen defanged the Borg in that movie because it gave them that emotive element.
Yeah,
and
you
it was
could
not
you could
needed.
reason
Yeah.
with the Queen, you could argue with the Queen, you could trick the Queen. But the joy of this, like we see with Locutus, is a figurehead, but he still manages to maintain the no, I'm not a person. I am I am just the mouthpiece for all the voices behind me. Because like it has the wonderful scene where he's with Riker, where Riker's kind of going like, hey, let's talk about this, we'll do that, and Picard's like, nope, this is a trick. We know this is a trick. We're not going to be fooled by this because we're not bothered by it. We're just going to speed off in this direction. He's like, nope, I won't accept your... And it's... Whereas the Borg Queen, she'd be easily tricked. Like the amount of times when Janeway kind of just goes like, hey, look behind your ear, there's a coin. And the Borg Queen's like, oh, yeah, it's...
Do you think the delay in lead time that Starfleet had was purely because they were constructing Janeway? Like their entire R&D was Darth Vadering Janeway.
Shelby's like, hey, we're going to make new weapons and new armor and stuff and new shield systems for ships. And the other team's just like, we're making a woman. But she's a fucking badass, you know.
She is fueled.
And they're like,
what is
okay,
her
then,
power
well,
source?
Let's see who wins.
Yeah, what is her power source? Batteries, isolinears, positronic, coffee. And you know,
I like the idea. I like the idea of intentional Janeway.
Captain Janeway, rise. But no, I mean, like, you know, they are terrifying in this episode, and I think what's driven by it is we don't really see them much. We don't see them talking. We don't see like one-to-ones other than one scene. We don't really see them talking to Picard or anything like that. And their goal is just, we are heading to Earth. What we do when we get there, we're not going to tell you, and we never see it. But
I think there's too many questions raised by the Borg because they're too powerful, and it's an issue that you get with monsters and writing. Like I have it with drag characters, where it's the idea of I have some characters where you just go, how would they act in this situation? Like if they had to do this kind of performance, how would they do it? And then you kind of hit walls where you're like, they would never be in that situation. And you just go, is that a flaw with the character where they're not fleshed out enough to be able to deal with that situation? Or is it that they would lose something by having to go through that process? And I think we have the Borg where we go, if you use the Borg too much, or you put them in situations where they have to be humble, or they have to be human, or they have to be weak, then they lose their fangs. Yeah. And like the transporter room said in the chat, as I posed a question for the group, did they overuse the Borg arc? And it's like, yes, because an argument I keep having is with monsters in film and stuff, if you see the monster fully, if you see the monster in daylight, it stops being scary. Because you realize it's a man in a suit. You realize Michael Myers, you could just run away from him, but no one does. They go, "Oh, he never runs. I could put in a fair bit of distance, you know." But then, and you have people like Freddy Krueger, where it's literally like they always start off creepy as hell, and they're always like sort of in the shadows, and it's all sinister and stuff. But then there comes a point in every film where he jumps out and he's just there, and you just go, "Oh, it's a nonce with a spiky glove, right? Okay, he's not actually that scary anymore." You know,
demonetized.
No, I wasn't talking about Prince Andrew this time. He was at a Pizza
Unlike
Express
Prince
in
Andrew,
Woking.
I'm sweating.
he got his sweat glands shot off in the Falklands.
I thought it was Pizza
That's
Express.
what I heard.
But I mean,
that thing, you defang them if you use them too much. And I think what's great about the Borg is that all of the blanks that we can fill in with them about how they would deal with different situations is they would destroy them. Like, they would literally just be like, they'd either ignore them, and then they just go, hey, how would they deal with the Klingons? They would just fly past them. What if the Klingons started attacking them? Oh, they would kill all of them without a problem. And you just go, there's something about that heavy-handedness of going, wow, that's how they would deal with things, that makes them frightening. And then the more they use them, the more they put them in situations where they start being humanized or more nuanced than that, and they stop being scary. Anyway, sorry.
One of my biggest, excuse me, one of my biggest, it's not a criticism because this is a fantastic pair of episodes. One of my criticisms, and we did get it at the start of the Emissary, is that we don't see the true might of the Borg fleshed out at Wolf 359. Now, like I said, there is a YouTube channel that shows Wolf 359 and the absolute chaos and carnage, and Star Trek Online has done like a recreation of Wolf 359, and the what we see in Emissary is, I mean, the Melbourne, they made it absolutely known that the Melbourne just gets sawed in half by one beam. But what I would have loved to have seen is the true, like, to really make the Borg like, oh shit, like, is this the end, right? It's to have that fully fleshed out, and I know they didn't have the money, but a fully fleshed out Wolf 359 scene, because 40 ships 11,000 lives. Imagine the horror that they could have portrayed on screen. Even if they just
it makes it scarier that we don't see it, that we just see the result.
So there's two versions that I'm going to propose to you, right? One, fully fledged out battle where it's over in a matter of minutes. What I mean is like Wolf 359, the cube enters, 5 minutes later they're gone, and 40 ships are just decimated. My other
from
way,
one cube.
From one cube. And we see the debris and everything like that, but just to see this one cube just decimate, right? Because at this point, in Star Trek, Starfleet is all knowing and almighty and stuff like that, and just to actually visually witness them being humbled is a terrifying thing to see for Star Trek fans, because it's like, hey, these guys are vulnerable as fuck. My other way was exactly what they did in First Contact, where they hear that the Borg have been engaged and they play the audio. I know they didn't do this in the Best of Both Worlds, and I think if they removed that from First Contact and we heard that in the Best of Both Worlds, because we get Admiral Hansen, the fight does not go well, Enterprise, bang, communication done. I think if they'd have just went, we've lost visual, but we have got the comm chatter from Wolf 359, and then just watching Shelby, Riker, Worf, Crusher, all the bridge crew, just hearing, right? And I think the way that would have done it best is you've got multiple voice chatters. You've got all these ships talking, and you've got all this, and then ever so slightly, one by one, the voices disappear, the voices stop, until you get one voice and they just say like, oh my god, this is it.
Yeah, and then it's the conversation from Hansen. It's the kind of the fight does not go well, or something like that. But I'm gonna go with the third option. I think that would be the best, because the thing I don't like about seeing it is like, see what I said before about Michael Myers. I'm like, hey, he walks everywhere, so I could just run away, and that's because I've seen him do it. Because you see the event, you see how he kills. If you showed Wolf 359, then the people watching the show would be like, oh, so that's how it attacks, is it? Or, oh, that's how it managed to saw that ship in half, because it's got that kind of beam. In my head, I'm gonna think up a strategy, which is you take out the laser, you take out that particular weapon, or you take out the tractor beam. You could have people feeling safer because they felt like they could build a strategy around it and know better. Not seeing anything means that we are like, we don't know how the 40 ships were destroyed. We don't know what tactics the Borg used to take it, and it keeps them frightening. It keeps them going, yeah, we get another 40 ships, we have no advantage going in after them. Like, we have we can't do anything different. And I think that makes it more frightening, not knowing stuff.
And like I said, my other criticism is like the sheer lack of defense of the solar system. Like 3 tiny little ships from Mars, and then they get to Earth. There is no Earth space dock. There is no defense. There is nothing. This cube is just hovering, and it is down to the Enterprise to save the day. But we'll get back, because we'll move on to the next part I want to talk about, and that's Picard's assimilation, because this is one of the defining moments in Star Trek history, and this resonates 35 years later with Picard, the assimilation of Jean-Luc Picard. And the way that it's done in this episode is brilliant. It's not gory, it is not graphic, it is just, you see the assembly of the appendages, and then you just see a single tear roll down Jean-Luc's face, because resistance is futile, and there is nothing that he can do to stop any of this. And you see his skin change, and just that singular tear during his assimilation.
But that's it. It shows, like, There's a wonderful thing of, with bad writing where it's all about show don't tell, and we have a lot of writers where they'll tell us everything that's going on rather than actually just being like, no, you can represent this just this way, and it's this idea of us seeing that tear fall from Picard's eyes basically tells us it essentially tells us Picard is in there. He knows what's going on. He is somehow inside of that. He is aware of his situation and he can't do anything about it. And that just makes that single tear makes everything more terrifying because it has him essentially betraying Starfleet by giving the Borg all of the secrets and all of his knowledge and whatnot.
Nothing he can do.
Yeah. He has nothing. And then he carries that guilt with him for his entire life. And not only that, everyone puts that guilt on him. Everyone blames him for it, even though he had absolutely no choice in the matter whatsoever. And it's such a tragic story. It's such a tragic arc for a character to have. And we're jumping massively far ahead because there's a lot more to discuss about Picard. But the final scene of the whole two-parter, where it literally has him, he's, what is it? I was going to say, like, obviously, like, Nursagawa's come back from annual leave, and so he's actually got the Borg implants off, kind of thing. Because obviously Beverly would have just pulled them off. I've got a screwdriver. I'll try and I'll jimmy this off. It's just like, oh, his head's come off. But that's the thing. But yeah, I love it. We have a whole scene where Crusher's literally meant to sort of keep an eye on Picard, and she's like, he's alive.
And
he's
then
just
it's up to
really,
Data. Yeah.
really,
And then it's completely up to Data to like regain Picard's humanity.
But that final scene we get with Picard, where he's doing his job, he's back at his desk, he's got a couple of implants, he hasn't had them all taken out, kind of thing. He's doing his job. He's just back to normal. He's back to normal. He's just talking to Riker, and then as soon as Riker leaves, Picard instinctively picks up his cup of tea, and then he pauses. And the music, I want to talk about the music later, and I think Dystopian brought it up in the chat. The music, where it just suddenly goes bang, there's still a problem here. Like, it's not this glorious ending. There is nothing to be happy about here.
Yeah.
It is literally, it goes into the motif of the Borg and motif of uncertainty that we had in episode 1 and 2. And he just pauses, and then he just looks out the window, and there's no expression. It's literally just this idea of just this internal conflict that he's dealing with.
Yeah.
And what annoys me is I proper have Mandela syndrome with this, because no matter how many times I watch through The Next Generation, I always think, oh yeah, Picard has his Borg implants for a couple of episodes after this. Where they slowly take them away. That's what I remember. I remember that the next couple of episodes he has little bits, and then they kind of go, oh no, now they've finally gotten back. But no, next episode he is perfectly fine. Next episode there is no mention of. I think there's a mention of his encounter with the Borg, but he's
it's home. It's he goes back to Liberia, France. Yeah, so there is
in touch with them.
Yeah, there is that repercussions there. But I know exactly what you mean.
But in terms of the implants, I was just like, no, they've just got him looking back to normal.
Flaw. This is the flaw of The Next Generation, because look at the Inner Light. He lived an entire life. He came back after experiencing like 70 odd years, and then they were like, well, take a couple of hours and get back to duty. I'm like, dude, do you guys not have a union? Do you like what? Like,
I mean, but it also adds an extra level of it where we just go, his encounter, his PTSD, his situation is so incredibly traumatizing that he actually chooses to go to France over staying in it, which is
not just go to France, interact with French people.
Yeah, like, how bad is this situation that seemed like the only thing he could actually do? That must be like self-harm, where you're just going, oh, well, it's a lesser pain that I can control, i.e. France.
I murdered 11,000 people. My punishment is France.
Yeah. Like,
or shit Canada, as we call it.
He hasn't even been to Disneyland. I bet he went, I don't deserve that.
My children need wine!
Let's have a roll around in the mud.
Ah, yes. Shit Canada! and Canada is just nice France. But yeah, so it is such a pivotal event in Star Trek history, and it resonates all the way through. DS9's Emissary, obviously Star Trek First Contact, Star Trek Picard, and it's just such a defining moment. But I want to talk about briefly, because I'm aware of the time, I want to talk about, I like France. I want to talk about the cliffhanger.
Don't worry, not all disabilities are visible. So that is the most horrible thing I've ever said, but it's one of my favorite comebacks for someone.
I'm more shocked at Transporter Room has went. There was 14 movies, 940 episodes, 3 Kelvin, and Section 31.
That's it.
They owe me for that movie premiere, okay? I want my film money back.
You know what was really depressing? On Nerdy Up North, they put a list of all the movies that have come out recently in the last year, and they were just like, which ones have you seen? And the only one on the whole list that I've had time to watch is Section 31. And I'm like, that's depressing. I bet all of those other movies are much better.
I recently got Paramount Plus, and obviously as I get Paramount Plus, I like all the Star Trek stuff, and it's like, recommended for you, Section 31, and I'm like, no.
We've watched it twice.
You've
watched it 3 times, haven't you?
3 times. Till the day I die, I will cherish and never forget Michelle Yeoh's face, because I was in the room with Michelle as she watched Section 31 for the first time, and the compere on the stage went, "So, Michelle, this is the first time you've seen Section 31. What do you think?" And she literally just went, "What do you guys think?" To which an audience of influencers and Star Trek fans and press just went, Anyway.
I've got a...
Yeah.
I got a napkin.
It wasn't that bad.
Sure, Jan. No, but it's...
Chris? Yeah. So
watch our review on it, please.
Watch out. I mean,
please,
that, again.
Please watch our review of Section 31.
Thank you, Paramount, for inviting me down. There should have been more alcohol. But the cliffhanger.
I love this. Another space note's like, if Synoiz wants my comeback, he will have to pull it from his mom's hair. Joke's on you. She's bald. But no. Nah, she's not. She's a swallower.
What makes you think he's heterosexual? Anyway, the cliffhanger in The Best of Both Worlds. This was all anyone would talk about when this happened. It was huge. This is possibly the best cliffhanger in television history, I dare say. Wow, what a way! And I know Dystopian has stated that it was setting up in case Patrick Stewart didn't renew his contract and everything like that. But
I didn't know that at all. That's total news to me.
What a way to go! Hey, it's the end of season 3. The captain's been assimilated, and the Enterprise is about to kill him. See you in September. Imagine that. I mean, I was just a wee Ben. I was only 4 at the time, 5 years old. No, I was 4 years old, right? So I was only a wee Ben. How could people have processed this in 1990? How would Chris? Okay, I'm gonna ask my friend Chris. Chris, I'm not being ageist, but you were slightly older than what I was. What was the reaction at the time in America? Because the BBC, we got it far too late, but in America, when all this happened, all I hear is from Mark and other pundits and everything like that this was the holy shit. This was the Who Shot JR moment of Star Trek, or Who Shot Maggie Simpson, Who Shot Mr. Burns, and yeah, What did you think when you first saw this? What did you think? I'm asking you, Synoiz.
Oh, me? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you are a co-host, are you not?
I have to. The issue is that like I kind of had it spoiled for me because obviously I grew up with this in syndication. So it was the idea of, it's weird you mentioned The Simpsons, but obviously my introduction to Star Trek was Next Generation was after 2 episodes of The Simpsons. You got home from school, you watched your kids' shows and stuff. Then you had 2 episodes of The Simpsons. Then you had an episode of Next Gen. But it wasn't consistently watched. Like, it was the idea of I didn't sort of see every episode. So it's the idea of there wasn't really a kind of, you have to wait months until the next one comes out. It was like going, hey, it's going to be next week, like the conclusion to this. So we never got that pause. It was like binge watching where we just went, oh, that's already been out for a year in America, so it just gets shown next week. And it's
I'm just reading another space. What's going on? Said mum instead of girlfriend. Oh, another space. You're good. You're awesome. You. Anyway, sorry.
I had to say mum instead of girlfriend. Yeah, but
he's a cool dude.
No, what you do is you say dad. You just say when I'm getting you come out your dad's head. And you just go like, it raises so many more questions, and that
Anyway, you were saying.
But yeah, but so we didn't really have that for me, I think, and it's difficult, but I would have liked to. And then when I rewatched it, when I watched Star Trek, as I was older, it was exactly the same situation. I just binged every series, so the spaces between series didn't matter. That's why I loved when we were watching Picard and Strange New Worlds and whatnot together, where we were basically going, we have to wait a week until we find out what happens next. And there's something wonderful and joyous about that, because we came up with crazy theories between episodes. We were like, hey, what's this going to mean? What's this going to do? And we don't get to do that with streaming services where it's an old show, you know?
Yeah, and Dystopians just said they were 8 years old and it was a very long summer. Like, imagine waiting like 2-3 months.
Yeah.
Imagine
That's
that,
crazy.
with no information about what's going to happen or anything like that, no trailers. I would be curious to see what they did trailer-wise to promote season 4.
Did we dig that out? You know, after what we were saying last week about the Times Arrow one, we were going, did we find Transporter Room, Dystopian? Can you help with this? Because we were like, can we find the trailers for like season 6 through? No, it's season 5 through to season 6, isn't it? With Times Arrow.
Transporter Room. Times Arrow was 5 into 6. Transporter Room says it was absolutely the Who Shot JR moment in Trek. I was 14 when it came out, and having to wait until September was brutal. I mean, we were left with Riker saying, fire. Did he or didn't he kill Picard? And it's just like, yeah. And that music, that, like, da 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 da. I like, what, like, hairs on my neck right now, just doing that, and it's just like everything was just executed perfectly.
That's it. The music is amazing because it's like it has this nuance that it doesn't usually have, because Star Trek music, like in Next Generation, it tends to be a bit sort of not wishy-washy, but it tends to be very sort of comfortable and safe, and it kind of goes, it's a dramatic scene, so the music goes dramatic, but it doesn't tend to have themes and stuff playing in it. Whereas in this, we do get it, where there's this military feeling to everything, there's this uncertain feeling to everything, and you're very aware of the music. Whereas the Borg, whenever the Borg are involved, they have this theme that is so alien, it's so different to all the other music that we've got, and it adds to it. And then the idea of having the music swelling on, the dramatic moment at the cliffhanger of the first one, and then at the conclusion of it all, having it demonstrate, just because there's no words. It's like literally the scene with Picard at the end is him picking up a coffee cup, staring forward, putting the coffee cup down, turning around and going to the window. There's no words said, but the music and the visual tells us everything that we need to know, and that is
it's Star Trek
joy of television.
But it's Star Trek at its best, and we see that so many times in Star Trek. And again, when we find out that Jack is Jean-Luc's son, and they don't say anything. it's just that eye contact between Crusher and Picard. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it, but it's
you've had a year and a bit, I think.
But yeah, that I mean, the cliffhanger, absolutely perfect. Everything was perfect about that, and then the ending of Best of Both Worlds with just staring, just staring coldly out into space. Oh, absolutely beautiful. What other themes do you have down there?
It's less about themes. I think we've covered in some way. I wrote like 7 pages of notes, and I'm never going to get through all of them. But yeah, so I went totally overboard with this, and obviously didn't realize that we were going to have a 40-minute tangent. But no, but there's 2 scenes that I want to talk about. The 2 pivotal scenes in it. In the first part, you would say that the cliffhanger was the pivotal scene for me, but for me, in terms of Riker's theme, like, it's the scene with Guinan, and I love it as a scene because it's got him realizing. No, is it the first? No, it's the second episode. No,
It's the second episode, yeah.
where
Guinan,
he's
it's
with
the
Guinan.
second episode, yeah.
I thought it was the first. Okay,
No,
anyway.
no.
See, all these notes and none of them are consistent. None of them prepared me for that. But it's and the scene between Riker and Guinan where he's terrified of the idea of Picard. He's just going, I can't be a captain because I can't live up to what Picard is, kind of thing, and I can't deal without Picard. And the fact that they symbolize it around a chair, like the fact that Guinan kind of invites herself into the room and goes, hey, cool, I've come to talk to you, kind of thing. And he's standing up. He's alone in the room. He's standing up. It's his room now, and he's not sitting in the chair because he's looking at it, and he's just, why is it empty? Like, where has he gone? And the fact that Guinan comes in, and the first thing she does is sit in Picard's chair. Like, she literally, and it's this thing of, like we say with the wordless sort of like imagery, where we just go, she is basically just saying, it's just a chair, mate. Like, Picard's not here. This is just a chair. There's nothing to be scared of. You have to do this. And the way that it plays out between them, because these are characters that don't really interact. We see other characters going to Guinan for advice and such. We see Picard going to Guinan for advice, but we see Riker turning to Troy for advice. And the idea that Guinan's kind of like going, hey, and it's weird what she says, because she effectively says to him, like, she effectively says to him kind of like, you know, humanity will survive. Like, so even if we do lose the battle and everyone gets killed or we lose Earth, it doesn't matter because humanity will survive. And it's this kind of bleak kind of outlook on things. But, you know...
It's bleak, but the comment that she makes about Picard, where she's like, our relationship, you know, it's more, you know,
it's beyond friendship, beyond family, and I will let him go.
Yeah,
like the idea, and it was like we said last week, where it never says what their relationship is. Like, it's not a romantic one, but it says that something they've gone through has cemented them as these deep companions throughout time and space. But then she's like, and I'm willing to go, right, he's gone. And, you know, the importance of that.
There's a lot of scenes in these episodes where there are no words. It is body language. It is movement. There was one bit where Picard's on the bridge, and Shelby has taken the initiative and gone to Data and said, if we can oscillate the phaser frequency, we can break the tractor beam and stuff like that. And she's like working against it. And then Picard comes up, and what we see is Shelby is like front and center, and Picard just gently puts his hand on her shoulder and then just moves her back so he can take command. And it's stuff like that where you don't have to have words, you don't have to have an explanation, and sometimes this is where modern Star Trek fails. You don't have to have an explanation for everything. It's subtle, tiny gestures and body language movements that just explain it all. And like you said, with the chair, with Guinan going in, with Shelby doing that, Shelby maintaining eye contact with Picard when he's walking around the bridge, and then Picard just looking out the window. Nothing has to be said. It's all expressed in just imagery altogether. I absolutely bloody love it. I really do. What was the other? Yeah.
The other scene I want to talk about, like I do want to say how much I love the whole what Guinan says to Riker is basically, I nearly said Ricard there. Ricard, that's the fan fiction. That's where you merge
Ricard!
Riker and yeah, when Riker and Picard get romantic in slash fiction, it's like a Ricard. I don't know, but you know, if the Borg know everything he knows, it's time to throw that book away.
I can't put the cliffhanger in, Chris. Sorry, I can't do that. So sorry.
Yeah, we got, but it's but I want to talk about like how they managed to confuse Picard by basically Riker being like, "Hey, I've created new maneuvers. We have we have Riker Alpha, we have Riker Beta. They are totally different maneuvers that Picard has no idea about. And then they use crazy stuff like they set out like, what is it, like plasma? They do something
antimatter like fireworks.
And antimatter missiles, and the tractor beam gets confused and starts trying to sort of like tractor onto them, and you're like, it's genius. And they get a shuttle through, and the rescue attempt is really clever. That's a really good scene that I like. And obviously O'Brien saves the day because this is before he gets humbled by the galaxy's greatest evil.
The greatest Starfleet personnel that ever lived, Miles Edward O'Brien. Where was Keiko during all of this?
But she was off sort of scouring through the ships at Wolf 359 and saying, why didn't they send more? But I called for, why didn't the Klingons arrive on time? This is not enough bloodshed for me. But the scene I really like, okay, and it's not really a deep scene. It's not really a particularly, like, thing that I can talk about in my usual way. But it's the scene where they're actually contacting Picard. It's the one with Data and Picard, and they're getting through to the Borg, and they're finding out about how the collective consciousness works between them and whatnot. And it's just genius because it literally has the two great technicians, where you've got O'Brien working with Data on the technological side of it, of Data connecting into the Borg consciousness and whatnot, O'Brien monitoring his vitals, and then you have Troy and that medical woman, and you got Troy and Crusher, basically keeping keeping Picard's body alive, and basically checking in on him. And it's ludicrous because literally Crusher's literally there to monitor his vitals, and then she just pisses off around the room, and and they're like, how is he? Oh, he's fine.
Oh my God.
He's just on the other side of the room not looking at the tricorder. He's like, he's great, he's doing
that.
Well.
That
he's
medical
got elevated
woman.
breathing, and I'm like, we can hear that.
That medical. All hail Dr. Crusher. Hashtag candle slag.
I'm so mean about Crusher, but I do. Yeah, and it's how great that is, though. The fact of going, actually, we have two people. We have O'Brien. We have O'Brien. We have Geordi. We have Data, who are the scientists, the engineers of the show, and then we have you've lit. Didn't light that candle. You're having some fun tonight.
Smells of Scotland.
Right. And then you've got Crusher and Troy, who are dealing with the human aspect of it. And I just loved the scene. I loved how it came together. And I will admit that it does actually have a great Crusher line, because obviously Nursagawa's not there. Yeah. Nursagawa's not there. So obviously Crusher's just working on guesswork because, she's... I'm convinced that Crusher is a medical fraud, basically.
Yeah. For those that don't know.
This is an ongoing theme. Like Keiko being evil, I've decided that Crusher is literally just lying on a CV and winging it. The fact that she's he's alive, I guess.
Also, for those that don't know that, there will be a PowerPoint presentation. Continue.
Oh God, there will be at some point. But yeah, and then obviously Data's trying to work out what he can do to sort of stop the Borg, and then Picard basically tells Data sleep. He's like, basically says sleep, and Crusher's like, he's exhausted, and he's just going. That's literally going to your GP where your arm's been cut off, and he's like,
God.
Have you had some paracetamol? That's it. Because we've all done it. We've all gone to the GP and they've gone like, oh yeah, have you tried getting enough sleep? And I'm like, I wouldn't be here if it was a minor thing. I wouldn't be here if I hadn't already tried shit.
Frankly, I'm surprised someone can get into their doctors, because before I went to the hospital last week, I called 32 times and I couldn't get through.
It's crazy, if I'm honest. Like it's well, what's happened is because my doctor, I do not like my GP. I can't get away from my GP because of how catchment areas work in my area. But it's weird because basically I went in the other week. I was managed to get an appointment. Went in the other week, and then there was just this young guy there, and I was like, oh, and he was great. He was really attentive, and he was like, okay, well, what's this? Can we try this? Can we try this? What are your symptoms? Blah blah blah. And he was proper sort of great bedside manner, basically. And I was like, oh wow, like, how long are you here for? He's like, oh yeah, I'm the GP's son, kind of thing. I'm just taking over for a bit. But then he was there last week, and I'm like, oh please let him have taken over the practice. Please let it have gone to his son. Because I literally, the previous guy was literally like, you could go in with a bullet wound and he'd be like, have you tried resting? It's like, have you tried lying on your side? And he's sitting there be like, I'm so glad I phoned 50 times to get this appointment. Yeah. I'm so glad I did. Sorry. But for all the Americans,
we love free healthcare.
We have far better healthcare than you, but there are tribulations of it.
7-hour wait for a 20-minute meeting to go, yeah, you broke your rib. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah. I was hoping we could get past that stage. It's like, I'm aware that there is a bullet wound.
Thank you for assuming something I know. But yeah, anyway, yeah. So yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. My brain is absolutely soft.
But I also love that idea. I love all the technical stuff in this episode. I love like the way that they, the way they use the antimatter missiles. I love the idea of modulating the shields, because like the idea of modulating the shields and the phasers and the source of separation. These are all these technological things that we love, and they're all in this episode. They're all kind of, I mean, we have the saucer in another episode, but like, is this the first time they modulate the frequency on phasers and stuff and realize that works? Yeah, that is such a trope of Star Trek now, you know? Like, it's
it's a trope of everything Star Trek, like the games and everything like that, remodulating your weapons for the Borg to adapt. Like I said, this episode has everything in it, but it's just such a watershed moment for Star Trek that everything going forward, I mean, they tried to imitate Best of Both Worlds with two-parters and cliffhangers, and they just were never able to replicate it. But the lessons that they learnt from this episode, the lore, the repercussions of the events. Look at Ben Sisko in Deep Space Nine. We would not have that type of Ben Sisko if it wasn't for Wolf 359. We wouldn't have First Contact. I think it was another Space Naut or Dystopian Prophet that mentioned it earlier on. The two-parter from Star Trek Enterprise, where they've got the Borg, and they said that after all, this episode of Enterprise was set after, it was filmed after Voyager, after the Borg were defanged, but they hit the nail on the head where they said they were truly scary again because they were just drones. There was no queen, there was nothing. They were just drones thawed out, and they just continued doing what they were programmed to do, and it was terrifying when you think about it. And they were never named, and we knew they were Borg, but they were never named. But just so much happened as a result of this two-parter.
And this is the thing, the argument that you get with people, because you get people who are idealists or whatever, where they just go, oh, if only you could go back in time and take care of a certain failed Austrian painter, like, oh, wouldn't the world be a much better place? But the problem is, you kind of sit there being like, I don't know if it would be. Like, because we don't know how time works. All we have is like I was saying before, you can't look back and go, oh, if only I'd done this as a kid, or if I only got into crypto or some bullshit, we can't make those decisions because all we'd have is different problems. All we'd have is different problems in the future. And so what we need to do is we need to respect Wolf 359 and the tragedy of it, because it allows Starfleet to become how strong it is later, and it allows characters like Ben Sisko and Janeway to prosper and help humanity and the universe in the long run, I think.
Are you saying that we should learn from history and not repeat it?
And well, and also not like try to delete it. I think, which is a big problem we have nowadays, where people are like, hey, let's just not talk about that anymore. And oh, like if we mention this, then we're celebrating that thing. You're like, no, we're not. We're not celebrating the bad person by talking about, like that they existed. It's very yes, there are problems at the minute, I think, in a lot of different ways. But the fact is, we have to learn from history. And one thing I do like about this is that we Wolf 359 is totally separate to all of this. It's such a major event, and it kind of happens off screen, and we don't really focus on it. We're focused on the adventures of the people in the ship. And I've always respected that in plots, where you just kind of like, because obviously amazing news today, which is that Silent Hill 1, my favorite game of all time, is getting a remake. Due to the success of the Silent Hill 2 remake, Silent Hill 1 is officially getting remade by Bloober Team. And I'm excited because I really thought they would mess up Silent Hill 2, and it's not. It's absolutely fantastic. It does everything that you'd want, because like with everything you go, we still have the original. As long as they don't totally ruin it, then it'll be fine, But it's
are you
in
listening
that
to me, guys? Are you listening to me? Look at me. Come here. I'm going to say something. Make Metal Gear Solid 1.
They'll do 2 first. You'll have to play with Raiden again.
Back to Best of Both Worlds.
Yeah, no, but with Silent Hill, like, one of the joys of it is that you are not the main character of the game, and therefore you are running around while this whole situation is going on, and you are not involved. Scenes happen outside of you being involved, and you kind of arrive there being like, what the hell just happened? Like, what's this? Who's that? And you can get to the end of the game without having a clue what's actually happened, where you just go, oh, you didn't find that newspaper article, oh, you didn't find that bit, oh, you didn't go to that particular room. Yeah, you have no idea what's going on. All you know is what you're trying to do. And I kind of love that that's what this is. For everyone else, like Ben Sisko and whatnot, Wolf 359 is the plot of this, whereas in this it's not. Is Riker going to leave his job? Is Picard, is he, are they going to lose their captain, kind of thing? And I love that that's the joy of Star Trek, that let's focus on the people, not the events necessarily.
I mean, they only discussed the loss of the ships, not the 11,000 people that died in a matter of minutes because of this one singular Borg cube. The chat is going absolutely nuts. They're commenting on the Galaxy class being a vanity project. I would say, that the Galaxy class was a vanity project. It was showing the might of Starfleet as a whole, and I think they learnt a lot from the Galaxy class and Wolf 359 by having families on board starships and realizing it's not really a valid thing to do. Did you see
hubris? It's hubris.
It's hubris. Another Space Note said, did you see the Expanse video game trailer? Yes, I did. I screamed like a little girl because I love the Expanse, and it is on my drawing board to one day, once I've got time, money, and the ability to do things properly, to cover the Expanse. And yeah, like Transport Rooms put it there, the only time we really get to see the Battle of 359 is in Emissary. And I think, I'm like I said, I'm inclined with you, like not seeing it and witnessing the effects of the event, or what happened at the event afterwards. Like, look at Liam Shaw. His entire life after 359 was the PTSD that he suffered whilst on board the Constance, and how he never forgave Picard for that. And it is heartbreaking to listen to that. 35 years,
and
like 35 years later, it's still playing on him, and that's survivor guilt that he has.
It's like Street Fighter, the movie, where it's just literally the famous M. Bison scene, where it literally just has, like, that was an event that, defined your entire life. For me, it was Tuesday. It's that,
Raul Julia. Never forgotten.
R.I.P., you great man.
You saint.
But that whole thing of, like, I love that at Christmas, me and my brother watched the Super Mario Brothers movie, followed by Street Fighter the movie, and we're like, you know what? In this context, Street Fighter the movie's not that bad, but it was because Super Mario Brothers is utter garbage, and I stand by that.
As a hardcore fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000, I highly recommend you all watch the Raoul Julia masterpiece, Overdrawn at the Memory Bank, produced by PBS in 1984. Watch it. You will not regret it.
Okay, you need to link me to this. But yes,
Overdrawn at the Memory Bank. Someone's got to comment and go, my God, he's got good taste. But yeah, like it is the best of both worlds, part 1 and 2. It is a seminal two-parter. It is pivotal. It is the moment Star Trek changed for me. That is the moment that Star Trek changed forever, and for the better, arguably. Like it showed that, you know, this, like you said, the hubris of the Federation was finally brought to bear, and they had to learn.
Well, here's the thing, and this is what I want to ask the chat this, and I want people to comment on the video with this. Is this where Star Trek started loosening Roddenberry's grip on it a little bit? Like the moment where they just went, hey, maybe it's not all sunshine and lollipops, you know, like, you know, not that it was, but in that kind of like going, hey, here's the darker aspects of things. Because
I would like to
this is
research
because obviously
that,
in DS9 we get it, but it's the idea of what I'd be interested in knowing what sort of involvement Roddenberry had in
I would like to
this
know,
arc and going forward.
Yeah, I would like to know what his thoughts were. I'm just trying to see. 1990. Yes, it was a year before he died. I would love to have heard his insights into this, whether he liked it or not, or whether it was too dark of an episode, like Conspiracy, but whether it was too dark. But this made Star Trek better.
Yeah.
This made Star Trek better. It humbled the Federation and Starfleet, and it made the audience realise that they are not completely and utterly infallible, and the stars of the show are not infallible. Like, you know, we could potentially lose a captain. Do you know what I mean? And stuff that we take for granted these days with the shows that we have, like Game of Thrones and, you know, The Last of Us. But back then, it's like, wait, no, you what? Picard gone? No, you can't do that. What?
Yeah.
And it's like, Tasha Yar went. Yeah, that was at the end of season 1, and she was I wouldn't say minor character, but she was she wasn't a
not used enough character.
Not
basically.
used enough character, but after 3 years, potentially kill off the star of the show. Yeah, and I think it just humbled. I think it humbled Star Trek. It humbled Star Trek fans, and in universe, it made the Federation wake up and go, "Oh well, shit. Maybe we should actually like invest in defenses."
Wait, and this is the thing where you just go. Here's a question for everyone. This could be a bloody poll. Did the Borg save the Alpha Quadrant?
Gonna do a poll.
Yeah. Did the Borg save Starfleet? Because the fact of them making everyone have to pull their fucking socks up and actually get into gear and start doing things is the only way that the Dominion didn't win, you know?
There you go, guys. Poll is up. Get voting.
Hold on. Can I click it? Can I vote?
You can vote. You can all vote.
I want to see if people agree with me. You know, they're like, you fucking crazy bastard.
This is the beauty of the update on OBS. It can die, and I have to like reverse the polarity, but I do have YouTube features now readily available.
Yeah. That's an interesting quote from the Transporter Room. Yeah, like Dystopian Prophet, it chipped away at the Utopian when DS9 destroyed it. And that's the thing. It's like DS9 just went, look, to survive this situation, you have to give up your ideals and you have to do what needs to be done. And then you can get back to, you know, like the pleasures and stuff. But yeah, in Joe Border, I like that it opened the door to a dark universe with threats and stuff. That's interesting, the Transporter Room. I will ask Larry... Oh, how do you pronounce that? Nemec? Nemek?
Oh God, I always get his name wrong. Just call
I
him
will
Larry.
ask Larry if he has any insight
Larry.
on Gene's thought about this
We
episode.
saw we met him at STLV as well, and I just called him Larry.
Well, no, that's it. I was like going, hey, it's...
Hey, you. But no.
I was so embarrassed the other day because when you get like a jealousy exchange with someone,
Yeah.
literally I was talking to someone and they got to meet Andrew Robinson and I was like, oh, you bastard, I'm so jealous. And he's like, oh, I'd love to meet Jonathan Frakes. I'm like, I did actually,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And
if
it is
you-
that weird thing going, oh yeah, actually, so I've met the person you want to meet, and you've met the person I want to meet, and then so it's this joy of fandom, I think.
But if there is nothing else, I would say
There is. We need to move on because
We
we've got
do
a
need
quiz.
to move
we
on.
have a wonderful quiz question from a special guest.
that has been our review of the Best of Both Worlds. The poll. Did the Borg save the Federation?
We'll do
Yes.
the poll. We'll do the poll after the Dabo wheel, and then we'll see. It's time to get extra votes in.
So that has been our review of the Best of Both Worlds from Star Trek: The Next Generation. Now, as Synoiz has alluded to, we are receiving an incoming hail from someone who wants to submit us a challenge.
Incoming transmission.
Hello, Trekkin Up North. It's Sarah from Women of Nerd Culture here. I heard you guys like a challenge, so I've got a little one for you. One of my favourite characters from Star Trek is Q. So I would like to know if you could name the 8 episodes from The Next Generation in which Q appears. Good luck.
Ooh, it's because we haven't talked about him that much, have we? The idea of Q, but it's like, Dystopian's saying? No, what Transporter Room's saying? Did Q save the Federation?
Was that a bit quiet, Dystopian? I do apologise. Yeah.
But yeah, what are we going to do about this?
8 episodes that Q was in Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I don't remember him being in that many. I thought it
Well,
was like.
okay,
oh no, it is
okay.
like, yeah.
Okay, Encounter at Farpoint. That's 2 episodes. No, it's 1 episode because it was a 2-hour pilot. So Encounter at Farpoint.
Okay. Hold on, I've got a pen and paper.
Yeah. So Encounter at Farpoint. That's 1.
There was
All good.
one called Q-less.
Q-less. Yeah.
I
All good-
remember being like, I don't know what the pun is there, and I
all
still
good
don't
things.
know. Oh yeah, right. Okay.
All good things. Q who?
Q who? Yeah. I've got to be difficult because I don't know which of the Voyager ones.
No. This is just the Next Generation.
There's one just called Q,
Is there one just called Q?
isn't there?
I don't know.
Is there one?
How many have we got so far?
4.
4. Deja Q.
There is just. Yep, that's
Deja
one.
Q.
Deja Q.
Oh god. What was the one where he appeared when he sent Picard back in time because he got stabbed by the Nautican?
Oh, that was called.
Oh.
I know it as well. I watched it. It's not called Dreams or something. It's called
No. Life's a Tapestry.
Tapestry. Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's 7.
Is that 7?
Oh no.
Jesus.
Well, I put Q. I'm sure there's an episode called Q. I don't know. Chat,
What?
is there an episode called Q? It is cheating, but yeah. The problem is if we spin on the Dabber Wheel of Shame, we might get Code of Honor. So it's kind of there's a desperation to get this right.
I can't think of another one.
So Encounter at Farpoint, Q less, All Good Things, Q Who, Deja Q, Tapestry. I'm saying there's one called Q. So that puts us on 7. And maybe if we is Sarah in the chat? Like she was around earlier, but I'm like going, do we count Encounter at Farpoint as 2 episodes? But it's 1 per season basically.
I don't know. Oh
yeah.
no.
Oh,
God.
God.
No. Oh god, we're gonna get.
Which
Code
is
of
the
Honor,
one
aren't
where
we?
the Q wants to die? That's Voyager, isn't it?
No, that's Voyager. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the Next Generation only.
Oh.
Hide and Q. Hide and Q.
Is there one called Hide and Q?
Hide and Q. Hide and
I'm
Q.
putting it down. Fuck it. Hide and
So
Q.
that's 8. Okay, right.
Okay.
So what have we
Yeah.
got? What have we got?
Okay, we've got Encounter at Farpoint. We've got Q less. We've got All Good Things. We've got Q Hue. We've got Deja Q. We've got Q, just Q. We've got Tapestry. And we've got Hide and Q.
Okay. The answers
Chip Shop
are...
Q.
Chip
Joe
Shop Q.
said.
The answers are...
Okay.
I
I'm
think
gonna
we
tick 'em
failed.
off.
I think we failed.
Oh, fuck.
Encounter at Farpoint.
Yeah.
Hide and Q.
Okay, we got... Oh, thank God we got that one.
Q
Yeah.
Who.
Q, yep, we got that.
Deja Q.
We got that.
Cupid. Or...
Huh?
Sir, I object. I am not a merry man.
Oh, God, I forgot about that. That was literally before... Okay.
So we didn't get that one.
And then what are the other ones?
True Q, which we reviewed
get
on
that
Trekkin
one.
Up North. Really? We reviewed that one. Tapestry.
Yep.
Q Less.
Yep, we got that one.
And All Good Things.
Oh, so there isn't one just called Q. Okay, so we got 7.
Oh, we've got to spin on the bad wheel.
Oh,
Oh my
bad.
God. Right.
Oh, the double wheel of shame.
Okay, guys, we are receiving yet another incoming transmission.
Incoming transmission.
Welcome, everybody, to the double wheel. Hang on. Welcome to the welcome.
You need to
the,
change what wheel it is. There was an optimism there,
Welcome.
wasn't there, Goodwill?
to the double wheel of shame. Now, for those just joining us for the first time on Trekkin Up North, welcome. Please click that subscribe button. I'm unemployed and poor and like something to make me smile.
Aki, please subscribe. Please like the video, and please write
Cured
a comment.
meats.
Please, cured meat. There's so many good. Please comment on the video because it helps the algorithm. If
Yeah,
you just post a random comment and make it seem like there's a discussion going on in the comment section,
Yeah.
then it makes us look more popular. Than we
Culus was
probably are.
DS9 as well. Damn it.
was it?
For those just joining, welcome to the double wheel of episodes. Each week we are set a challenge by our lovely viewers, and if you would like to submit a challenge, there is an email address on this YouTube channel that you can send your challenges to in a portrait format. Each week we are set a challenge, a Star Trek based challenge. If we win, we get to spin on the double wheel of honor, which contains 12 good episodes each, but there is less now, so up to 12 good episodes each. And if we fail miserably, like we do most of the time, we get to spin on the double wheel of shame. Obviously, we are on the double wheel of shame right now. We spin the wheel. When the wheel stops, we yell at the top of our lungs, double. Although I'm not going to because it's quite late at night here in the UK.
I will.
I want everyone to type the word double when the wheel lands, whatever it lands on, whatever episode it lands on. We must review it in the next episode of Trekking Up North. And obviously, I would be remiss if I didn't ask yet already know, Mirror Universe Synoiz, what episode would you like to see from the double wheel of shame?
It's Code of Honor. No, I mean, come on, Code of Honor. No.
If we land right,
I
look,
actually think I'd love to do Profit and Lace, because that was our Knife Edge episode where I nearly put it in the good episode, the Double Wheel of Honor, but you put it into
it's
the
a
Double Wheel
divisive
of Shame.
episode. It is a very
And
divisive
that's-
episode. Yeah, and it's
I think
Sid's
there's a wonderful discussion to be had there.
Sid's last directorial role. Code of Honor. Oh, Joe.
Come on.
Oh.
It's got to happen eventually.
Yeah, so I think Profit and Lace as well. But if we do get Code of Honor, look, guys,
It can happen.
if we do get Code of Honor next week, there is going to be, and I'm sort of like,
We need to get drunk for it. We need to just.
I'm
get
just
more
gonna
for
have
it.
to. I'm gonna have to revert back to 2023 Captain Goodwill and just get the martinis out, man. Because I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna need all the pain medication and martinis that this body can muster to get through Code of Honor, and I will make it a celebration of that episode, so help me God. Right, without any further ado, it is time to spin the wheel in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, there it is. I saw it.
Double!
It's the sexy space pedo one. Oh no, we're not. We're gonna get demonetized because there's no way I'm gonna be able to get through this episode.
Is it Elogium?
Without using the word space nonce.
I mean, the thing is, guys, at least I get to change the com badge on my uniform for next week. Star Trek Voyager Season 2, Episode 4, Elogium. Voyager encounters a swarm of spaceborne aliens while Kess and Neelix must decide whether to have a child.
Also known as, I'm 2 years old, I need to mate with someone. Which is literally Epstein Island written script, I think. This is
going to be a difficult one.
Can we change the theme tune to the Jim will Fix It theme tune for next episode?
Fun fact, everybody.
Was only the start of it.
Fun fact, everybody. Television Centre, which is where the BBC used to be based and where I used to work, recently was converted into apartments and flats. The letting agency was chosen, and it was Savills.
Oh. There's a long involvement of the BBC in Savills.
Someone's got a sense of humour because they're like, who should we market Television Centre with? Let's go with Savills. What could possibly go wrong?
It's ludicrous, but yes, I put this in. This is my choice because this is just uncomfortable and an awful episode, and I'm just so annoyed that I really like Kess as a character. I really like them, and they just had no idea what to do with her, and they gave her horrible episodes like this, and it's going to be uncomfortable, everyone. So I'll be getting drunk. Yay. Because there's no way we're going to be able to monetize next week. There's absolutely no way. Because the amount of times I'm going to be saying space pedo.
Can you do the episode next week on your own?
Nope, you got to do it. Even when Code of Honor comes up, we have to do it, man.
Who wrote this? Who wrote this? Who did the teleplay?
There we go.
Who did
Another
the
space
teleplay?
note with the classic there. Everyone is quick to smack talk Jimmy Savile. When I was a kid, I sent him a letter to fix it so I could milk a cow blindfolded.
Okay, guys in
I love
guys
that
in
they
America.
got away with that on the radio, and then the guys were like, "We have to apologize for reading that out. We did not check it."
Guys in America, right? What I have noticed lately on TikTok is that there was a little bit of a segment from that show where someone asked if they could go onto the bridge of the Enterprise to meet Captain Kirk and be on the bridge of the Enterprise, and it's heartwarming. It's lovely. But I can't get over the fact that William Shatner, in flares and a leisure suit, goes to this young lady. Jim asked me if I could fix it for you to come and see me on the bridge of the Enterprise. Guys,
Which one did she do?
What, Enterprise?
No, come or see. Anyway,
Computer.
yeah,
Computer, just take us back to two-person.
join us next week, I think, because I think I'm free. I've kept the month relatively easy, so yes, we will be doing another live next Thursday. So we will see you then.
No clue what this Jimmy talk is all about. Chris, Google it.
Don't Google it. There are documentaries.
I am the only one that left the BBC with no record. Okay.
But yeah, also I need to mention that the wonderful woman who gave us the challenge is the lovely Sarah Peach, and she is part of the Women of Nerd Culture, which is another Nerdy Up North podcast, which is basically all about the wonderful women that we have in nerdism, and basically just talking about giving female nerds their sort of voice, I think, in the universe, because we men tend to talk a bit too much and a bit too loudly maybe. But this Saturday, in 2 days time, nearly 1 day's time, I will be doing the Nerdy Up North quiz through in Sunderland, where I will be co-hosting it with obviously myself, quiz mistress Jessica, and Sarah and Becca from Women of Nerd Culture, which is very exciting. And we will be raising money for Wearside Women in Need, which is a very good local charity. So join us for that if you are in the northeast of England and you fancy coming through to Sunderland. So yes, there's my spiel. But I was very happy that she did that, because we've been talking a lot this week, because we've been working out all the quiz questions and stuff.
Look, guys, if you do have a challenge, please feel free to send them over. The email is on the YouTube channel. Approach myself and Synoiz directly. Our social media channels are down below. Please, more challenges the better. I admit I have dropped the ball massively because I have had to deal with my life, so I have not. I have not had the chance.
Goodwill says he's dropped the ball, and it's more the fact of Goodwill does all the work and I do nothing. And Goodwill's like, oh, I took my foot off the pedal for a moment, and I'm like, and I allowed everything to crash and burn. Yes.
I didn't crash and burn.
I do nothing.
I didn't crash and burn. I entered the hedge sideways on fire at the moment. So yeah, the ball has been dropped, but more challenges will be coming. If you want to submit yours, please feel free to submit them. Nothing is off the table as long it is Star Trek related,
and it needs to be something that we can win. It's not just asking our opinion. It's the fact of there needs to be a right answer that we can check afterwards in order to determine whether we got it right or whether we got it wrong. And we got the results from the poll as well.
100% said yes, the Borg did save the Federation. I agree.
Which is interesting, isn't it? It's the idea that we need, like with Riker, we need, the whole plot of it is we need bad things to happen to us. We need challenges to come so that we can push past them and excel, so that we can grow as people. So it's the idea of Riker becomes a better person because of this crisis, knocks him out of his hubris, knocks him out of his comfort zone.
It humbles a lot of people. Yes, Joe, you can submit as many challenges as you want. The more, the merrier. Chris can do it. Dystopian Prophet can do it. Another Space Nut can do it. Peaches can do it again. By all means, submit all the challenges. I will be showing my support for the Women of Nerd Culture on Saturday at Geek Retreat in Sunderland, so be there and or be a twat. We've been doing this for nearly 3 hours. I think it's time we wrap up the show, don't you?
I think it is. I'm going to say farewell to everyone. Thank you so much for everyone who has survived this whole episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please comment. Please join the Discord. Please just let us know what you think, and it'll help the algorithm. And share this. Say to other people, hey, do you fancy watching it? It's the tough sell. Do you fancy watching a 3-hour thing of two people blabbing? But yeah.
I do the YouTube shorts every week for every show. I beg, plead, and borrow people to come and watch it. I definitely, another Space Note, want to speak to you about this whole portrait live as well. I want to do that as well. So if you can catch me on one of my socials down below, please let me know. But please just share it far and wide. We are not wanting to be the biggest show on the planet. We just want to share our love and our passion for Star Trek far and wide, because this is catharsis for myself and Synoiz every week, and we have the most fun together. And we can disagree about anything, but we never hate each other, we never resent each other, and we learn from each other. And he has a point of view that he has, I have a point of view that I have, and we listen and understand. And this is the end of the day, that is what Trek is all about. It is about learning, it is about collaborative, it is about bettering humanity. So yeah, I have been Captain Goodwill of the USS Adequate. He has been Mirror Universe Synoiz. Oh, he was Mirror Universe Synoiz.
I haven't really done much with it. I've got to
until
be
the eyeliner fell off, and now he's just Science
It
Officer
just come off.
Synoiz.
It just wiped off when I put the bloody ring light off.
And until next time, I want everybody to stay safe, especially, look, we know what's going on in the United States. I love LA. If you are in LA, please, for the love of God, stay safe. However, keep fighting the good fight. Live long and prosper. And as ever on Trekkin Up North, Miles? Miles? Miles?
Miles?